This is Romo Dunze, and you're listening to the Ballsville Podcast.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, sounds like we had a little bit of an audio issue there, at least on my end. I hope it sounded okay for you guys on that end of that intro there. How you guys doing? I'm Farmer Sklem, aka Sean Clemens. I'm here with my good friend Connor, aka C-Bomb on Sleeper. How you doing, Connor?
What's good? I'm doing good. Ready for this draft.
Awesome. All right. For those of you that don't know, we are here for a special bonus edition of an episode for a live draft. We had such good turnout on our last live draft episode. Everybody seemed to really enjoy them. So we decided why not go ahead and do another one. So me and Connor are available for you guys here today. We might have a couple special guests jumping in from time to time. So we'll see how that plays out. Otherwise, we're here to have a good time and just talk you guys through this draft. So I see we've got a good amount of people already in. I know we got some boys jumping into the draft room as well. And we're going to get ready to get this kicked off. So before we get started, I just kind of want to give you guys a breakdown because I know it's been a little while since we went over the scoring for Ballsville. So I wanted to kind of just give you guys an idea on the scoring setup and how we got this going for our Ballsville leagues. So it's basic default PPR scoring settings. So you got your 6-point passing, 6-point rushing touchdowns, standard yardage scoring, things like that. The only difference that we have is in the quarterback realm. We have, instead of your 4-point for passing touchdowns, we have 6 points. And instead of losing 1 point for an interception, you actually lose 2 points for an interception. So other than that, though, you're looking at your basic PPR scoring from there. And, a lot of our Ballsville guys already know all this stuff. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a breakdown, in case you hadn't heard it in a while, and just kind of give you a quick refresher on it. So, Connor, do you want to give us any kind of insight on what we're talking about here? Any kind of scoring insight? What do you think of the scoring setup? How does it change things for you as far as draft is concerned? And does it at all?
It does a little bit just as a 6-point per passing touchdown. It might move up just a couple of the quarterbacks, move down, like your Jalen Hurts that are runners, your Lamar Jacksons that are runners. It doesn't give as much boost to the rushing touchdowns as it does in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. I don't believe that the differential is crazy, but it does move up some passers like your CJ Strouds, your Jordan Loves a little bit that don't get as many rushing touchdowns as those guys.
See, I agree. I mean, I don't think it moves them a lot, but I do think it moves them maybe 1 or 2 places here or there. A guy like Anthony Richardson per se maybe isn't quite as impactful in a league with this scoring setup as he would be in a regular 4-point scoring system. So I definitely agree with you on the change that it makes. I just don't know if it's drastic enough to really change my draft strategy. Which pretty much is fluid based on the way the draft falls out either way. But I definitely don't move them too much other than those specific positions in those like top tier level quarterbacks.
Yep.
So
I 100% agree. Is there anybody that you don't like drafting in 6-point per passing touchdowns? Like, is there like just a player like you don't believe he can just throw touchdowns? He's only there for rushing upside. Like, I don't know, Lamar Jackson. I feel like he's one. I don't know. He just feels like one of those names that just gets moved down your board just because he scores so much rushing.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there. I already said his name again. I hate to say it twice, but Anthony Richardson is the only one that I would say scares me, and it's mainly just because he's an unknown factor. It's not because I don't have faith that he's talented enough to do it or he has the ability to do it. It's actually I'm more on the other side of that. I think he definitely does have that option. I just don't know, and it's hard to invest the types of picks that we need to invest to get him, with that unknown factor. So it really depends on how the board falls, right? So like if I'm getting like a lot of times we saw our buddy Ken actually in the last draft. He took Jordan Love over Anthony Richardson, which we all know was just to spite Scott. We all know the deal there, right? That was just to mess with Scott and tease him a little bit. But, for me, he had Burrow from the first round. So in that instance, I feel like I've got a nice, solid pocket passing quarterback in Burrow. I'm going to go ahead and snag Anthony Richardson and try to get that upside in that guy. So That's where I definitely would kind of look at a guy like Richardson more so. Like, it's hard for me to take him as my QB1 unless I know that I'm coming around early for QB2.
Yeah, I agree.
I love him as my QB2 if I have a solid QB1.
Yep. We do have some breaking NFL news. I don't know if you've seen this yet. It came out maybe 1 minute ago. That's Tyreek Hill signs a 3-year extension worth over $90 million. And so I know there is some talk about him being a 2-year rental in Dynasty. JoJo just said, so much for that. So we had breaking news just right now that he's signing. Probably going to be there at least another 3 years. So
here's my thought, though. Is this a 3-year extension beyond 2024? So 2024, 2025, 26, and 27? Or is this 24, 25, and 26?
I'm just reading what Adam Schefter just typed in 2 minutes ago. He says agreeing to a restructured contract worth $90 million over the next 3 years, including $65 million guaranteed. No additional years were added to the contract, but he did get guaranteed contract money.
Okay.
If he plays,
So much less of an extension and a lot more of a raise.
Yeah. So basically, to make him stay, I assume a 3-year.
Yeah. So basically, what this does is it locks him down as a 2-year rental, pretty much.
I would say, I would say maybe a 3-year rental now, maybe more so than a 2-year rental. I think
does that change your opinion on your draft spot with him? Does that?
I didn't have him. No, not really for Dynasty. Definitely not for redraft. I mean, contracts really don't matter that much for redraft unless you're looking at a guy that is going to compete hard because they're looking to earn a contract, which I don't think Tyreek ever is going to be like, I'm going to get 15 extra yards because I'm looking for a contract. But he's not one of those guys. He has big butts anyway. But I think Dynasty, it might move him up my board just a little bit because Dynasty, you're really trying to fight with the 2 to 3 year window anyway. And so if he's there for 3 years guaranteed, it might move him up a little bit. I would have to look at the spots, but
no, I'm with you on that. I definitely think that he's in a position where he can be pretty valuable, for a fantasy or for a dynasty team. So I would definitely consider him a little higher now than I would have. Like, it was hard for me to take a guy like Tyreek Hill in the end of the first round, early second round. Yep. It really was difficult, but knowing that he's locked in for a 3-year period now, if I'm able to get a nice, stack with Tyreek Hill and a good quarterback at 12, or 11, I take Tyreek knowing that there's a good quarterback or 2 good quarterbacks left, and I'll be able to get one because he's probably not taking 2 on the turn, or there's even 3 left by that point because quarterbacks, especially in best ball or in Ed Paulsville, they seem to be dropping. So, I'm definitely now considering that a lot more than I was before because of the 3-year window aspect. I try to stay within that mentality when I deal with the dynasty league, unless it's a complete rebuild scenario. So that's pretty much where I'm at with it too. I think we're both in agreement. It definitely changes things, to an extent, but I wouldn't say it's drastic. Very similar to the passing touchdown point differential that we just discussed.
Yeah, it's not like he got younger. He's still the same age. He's still almost 30 or at 30, I believe. And he is not the type that gets smacked a lot.
He seems to be pretty good about keeping himself out of harm's way for the most part. So, as much as you can when you're playing this game.
Let's take a look at this draft. We'll see where we got.
All right. Yeah, let's pull up this draft board for you guys. If you are not in the draft room already, jump on in there. We're probably going to get this thing started off here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it up on the screen here for us. So we'll go over the draft board for you guys here real quick. We've got Chiefs Life 13 sitting in the 1 hole. So we'll see where he decides to go with that. And we got, I'm going to probably butcher this, but Coding 2022. And the 2 hole, we get Cheeky Hobson in the 3 hole. Mr. Been doing this in the 4 hole. Cash 3 at 1.5. Starry for Cussin at 1.6. Our good buddy Jeff Zubakis up in Alaska at 1.7. Thrill Kill at 1.8. Short Stack 11 at 1.9. Bender Rover 07 at 1.10. TB76 at 111, and bringing up the rear, his favorite spot in the draft, C-Bomb 18, our good friend Connor.
At least I'm not first. We've done 2 of these in the past, and I've been first twice. We were giving away a freebie. We will be giving away 2 more. If y'all type draft any point in time in the comments, we'll be giving away 2 more at the end of this. But I put the freebie at the number 1 spot this time because I was like, at least if I'm number 1 again, I get something for free. But didn't happen this time. I'm at the back of the draft. So now I've been looking at teams like that drafted at the 12 spot in the past, and I have not liked them a lot. I believe my favorite team was JoJo. We did this last week's pod, not this Tuesday, but the week before we did it. And JoJo had the 12th spot. And Bijan and Brees fell to him. That was my favorite team that I've seen at the 12 spot. There's some other ones I did not like at the 12 spot, including last week's Jimbo's Bimbos. So Jalen McMillan in round 10.
I like a lot of Jimbo's teams, though. I hate to hate on the guy, but
yeah, I was hoping to get him in this draft. I was texting him and stuff like, "Hey, join our draft again." I wanted him to draft Jalen McMillan in round 10 again, but no luck there. But I've been looking. I'm hoping there's a couple of guys that fall to me, but there's definitely been some bad teams drafted from the 12 spot.
Yeah, I mean, the 12 spot, definitely you can't go into the 12 spot with any kind of a set in stone game plan. You have to approach it fluid as the draft allows. That's the only option you have, man, because if you're like dead set on getting your top receiver round 1 no matter what, and like you have a run of like 8 receivers going off in the first round and you pass up on like a top 3 running back or a top 2-3 quarterback, you potentially to take another receiver because you just really had that game plan in your head, you're not setting yourself up for success by doing that. So, if I had any advice for anybody in those late roles, it's let the draft come to you. Don't go in with any kind of a, have to have it this way no matter what scenario.
Is there a spot that you're just like itching for any redraft leagues? It's like if you had if we had a derby, what would be your first spot taken in the derby? And
it's always hard to pass up 1.1, so I get my
don't say Josh Allen. I don't want to hear Josh Allen.
I got to say that. That's my default. I got to throw that out there first. But no, to be honest with you, man, like it's difficult. It's if it's a standard non-third round reversal style draft like these are, then I tend to prefer the back end of a draft board anywhere from like 9 down. Just because I like that's my style of drafting anyways, liking to have the board to fall to me. So, I'm okay with those spots because a lot of times I get a really good player that I'm really happy with because people are taking guys that I probably wouldn't have ahead of me. And I get a guy I would have taken 3 or 4 spots earlier at the position I'm at. And now my second round pick coming around is going to be that much better. So that's the reason that I kind of, usually gravitate towards those roles. If I don't go in that direction, I like to stay right about 5, no earlier than 5. And
I would say
my top guy and then wait and see what happens.
I would say like my range is like the 108 to the 110. I think that's like the perfect spot. You're still in that tier, like that front tier of guys that could fall to you at like the 108, maybe the 107, maybe 107, 110 is like the perfect range. You still have those top tier guys fall to you there. And then on the way back around, I still feel like you're in the second tier on the way back around. Whereas if you're picking third, you're picking from maybe the top of the third tier or the bottom of the third tier, depending on where you have your tiers. So I believe like that middle range, maybe a little mid to late draft is perfect for redraft superflex. For 1 QBs, I know a lot of people do 1 QBs. It's a little different.
It's a lot different.
For 10 teams, it might be a little different also because you only have, if you're at the 8, you only have 2 people back. So 105 maybe is a perfect spot there. So
the lesson there is that the settings on your league, whatever your league is like as far as how it's built and constructed, is how you should approach the draft. Like that is what's going to dictate your draft strategy, in my opinion. So like I always have a similar approach as far as an overall let the draft fall to me, change up if need be kind of approach. But when it comes to 10 teams, I have a different style. When it comes to 12 teams, I have a different style. I have a different favorite spot in every different type like that. So, once you find your sweet spot in that style, don't be married to that position. Like if you like the 8 spot in a 10-team league, don't be married to that spot in a 12-team league. It's going to bite you in the butt. Adjust based on the league and point scoring, everything is included in those adjustments.
Yep. All right. You ready to get started here?
I am, brother. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Chiefs Life, you are going to be on the clock, my friend.
Yeah, I'll give it a few seconds to let everybody know. If you're in here and you can't, I know there's a few people wanting to watch it and draft at the same time. If you can't watch it right now, you can always, we record this. It'll be live as immediately after following this, and you can rewatch it. So if you can't put it on your phone, don't worry. You can always watch it after.
Come on now. You guys got more than one device.
Yeah.
Throw it up on one and pull out the iPad, throw it up on there, and you can comment and have fun at the same time.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the lobby and you can't make it out, just to let you know, we are starting this draft right this second. So good luck.
And while this first round's going on, let's clarify what they're going to have the option to win here. These are best ball seats.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Best ball, basically $6.50 is basically what you're getting. You can only win one. Your name will be plucked out of the hat, and you won't be able to put back in there. But you can win one. It's like worth $6.50, and you can get in one of these last free best ball leagues or last best ball leagues that we have. We have about 4 or 5 left. Maybe not even that many.
I believe this is Division 12. So this is a really large pot, as our largest ever at this point, if I'm not mistaken. So, definitely want to get in on this if you can. Even if you don't get the free one, jump over there and get in one of those teams before they're gone. He had to go with J.A. Whatsapp. You have to go with Josh Allen.
I'm surprised by that pick. Chiefs Life not picking Patrick Mahomes number 1. So your draft board is a little behind again. I don't know why it does that.
Yeah, for some reason I have a little bit of a delay. It might be caused because I'm doing the StreamYard here too, but it'll catch up on our screen, and I'm sure you guys are probably a little slightly ahead of us, but we'll there we go. We got Jalen Hurts now popped in as our second pick. So
yeah, he had 2 seconds left. I'm hoping that wasn't a rushed pick, but maybe he was looking at him the whole way. Some people have Jalen Hurts over Mahomes. Personally, I do not.
A lot of people I would say do, to be honest with you, because of the rushing touchdown opportunity.
Yeah. Chiefs Life said he picked Josh Allen over Mahomes because he has so much Mahomes. I completely agree. This is why I've picked Josh Allen first the last 2 drafts I've been in. I just have so much Mahomes.
Disagree.
I have so much Mahomes, so I felt like I was forced. I was forced to take Josh Allen. Which is not a bad thing to get forced into taking Josh Allen.
Terrible approach. Terrible. Josh Allen should always be the 1.1. Do not listen to these Chiefs homers. I mean, we all know Connor's allegiance just depends on the day of the week. So
yep.
Don't worry.
Saturday, so it's Cowboys Day. I'm sitting in AT&T Stadium. Look all around me. I got all these fans. Farmer Sean's over there sitting in the corn with all his Bills fans.
And there goes your boy Patrick.
Yeah, it's a little later than I would like to see him, but hey, right. It's all good. You're getting the best overall player and at the 4 spot, which actually, if you didn't see this, I think it was yesterday, the top NFL players got released. It was, I believe, Tyreek Hill went number 1. I believe it was.
Yep, you're right.
I know McCaffrey was at 3. I know Miles Garrett was at 5, and your boy Patrick Mahomes, who obviously was the best player last year. He won the Super Bowl MVP, was there at number 4. And Jalen or Lamar Jackson was number 2. Even though he didn't make another. Yeah, he was the MVP. I mean,
yep,
he had a good year, but not over Mahomes that performed in the playoffs. Which I'm not sure what. Is it just player voting? I believe might just be player voting.
Yeah, it's player voting for the top 100, which is why it's always so skewed.
Yeah. But it was a little weird. They didn't want to – it was like a little video of Jamar Chase like pinned on their Twitter or whatever, and it was like Jamar Chase didn't want to say Patrick Mahomes' name. It's like, oh, yeah, we know who's coming in at number 1, and it wasn't it wasn't Patrick Mahomes. It was just a little weird seeing that.
That's funny.
What do you think of this draft so far? We got Stroud going after Mahomes. Then we have Lamar Jackson sorry for cussing. And then we have CD as our first receiver, and then Tyreek Hill as our second receiver. What are you thinking about that?
I mean, so far so good. I mean, I think they're falling about where I would have anticipated they would go. This is where I feel like there usually ends up being a run on receivers and a couple of running backs before you start seeing more quarterbacks. But I also don't 100% agree with that strategy myself, but that's just how it's been falling, it seems. You mean you can tell by the ADPs out there that that's basically the way this has been working out. I definitely think that it's tough for me to take a receiver after there's 5 quarterbacks gone in 6 picks. To me, that's hard for me to just shift gears at that point.
I just don't know who would you take? Would you take Richardson, or I don't mean to, would you take a different quarter? Like, who are you taking over Lamb there? I feel like that's just good value on Lamb.
It is good to take. It is. I definitely agree with like the opportunity to get that type of number one overall receiver, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough for me because I look at the receiver position so deep. It's just hard. That's all it is. It really comes down to the receiver position being so deep. That's why it's tough for me. And you guys that are so receiver heavy, like I understand why you guys are, but it's tough for me because I feel like there's receiver value in the later rounds.
Yeah.
So
we have Amon-Ra, then we have Burrow, and then we have Jefferson going. And so that leaves me with the top guys of Chase, as ADP Sleeper says. I do like some Jamar Chase. I would have preferred to not be in this position, but you can't ever pick your draft position in a random shuffle. So I will be going Jamar Chase, and I'll be pausing this for a few seconds to recap the round. I mean, we kind of did it a little bit. Is there any values you like there?
So, I mean, after you got the first 6 picks, I mean, I think they pretty much fell with the, maybe not the exact same order as normal, but around the same exact grouping of players. Mm-hmm. So, we started moving beyond that where, you would normally see maybe a CD fall, maybe a Tyreek fall in there, maybe an Amon fall in there, right? So, now that the first 5 quarterbacks went, I was kind of surprised to see that only one went in the next 5 picks.
Okay.
That was something that to me was kind of like, wow. So, after all 5 quarterbacks go early like that, we've talked about it a little bit already. That to me was kind of really where the shift change happened. And the fact that not another running back went, I do think that Breece and Bijan deserve to be somewhere. One of the two deserves to be in that first round somewhere. So the fact that they're both falling out of this group just tells me that it's a lot of people that have been listening to you and nobody listening to me.
I mean, you gotta listen to the better drafter here. You gotta listen to the better drafter. But I agree. I think the Lamb pick probably was the best value that I've seen. I've seen him go in the top 3 picks in some of these. So getting him at, what is that, the 108? No, 107. I think that's probably the best pick there. I don't like the Stroud over Lamar personally. I take, just for this year, I probably take Lamar. I
feel like that is the one mix, the Stroud Lamar conversation. That is the one that the passing touchdowns, interception differential might sway constantly back and forth for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't think it's like a huge difference, but I do believe Lamar is just a little bit better for this year. We have seen some sophomore slumps in the past, so we'll see if that happens to Stroud. But I'm not planning on it, but I prefer Lamar over Stroud. I also prefer Mahomes over Hurts, but I can see the Hurts love there. So let's get started on this next round. I'm still trying to decide between my next couple players here.
I don't know where I go. I just said it. So
yeah, and I mean, I like running backs. No, don't. I like wide receivers and I like quarterbacks. And that's usually what I go with. And especially at this back end of the round, I'm kind of nervous to see who's going to fall back to me. So I'm debating of taking a running back, and I'm debating of taking a quarterback here. So let me get some time.
You got about 3 seconds according to the board.
Yeah, that's a little. I got about 25. I'll let this board for you. I'm on time. I'm not rigging it. Chiefs Life rigs the polls and always wins the freebies, apparently.
Look, we got Trevor in here. Just
Okay.
talking up all these guys better than Stroud.
I went a little bit different than my normal strategy. I went Brees Hall. I felt like just having that top tier, I felt like I'd have a possible chance at wide receiver 1 and running back 1. I felt like I didn't, even if I took quarterback, he probably is not finishing in the top 2 to 3 quarterbacks. I feel like the guy I wanted will probably finish around 5 or 6. I just felt like getting those tier guys where I can maybe get the same tier of quarterbacks in the next round. So I took Brees there. I don't feel like there's any running backs in the next round that will be on that same tier. So,
yep, I'm with you on that. I understand. I mean, I think it's hard for me to pass up on a Jamar Chase at 112. So I think as much as I would have wanted to go Bijan Brees, I would have had a hard time passing him up. I probably would have went Jamar Bijan because I have Bijan just that slightly much higher than Brees. But it's either or. Really, it's just a dealer's choice, really. So that one's not.
And the reason I went Brees is because I have a lot of Bijan. I don't have a lot, but I have a couple Bijans, and I think I only have one Brees lead that I have him in any league, and I just felt like I'm a little bit more comfortable taking Brees there with the Algier news that came out. Coaches talked about they're going to lean on Algier. And
there's always coach speak going on.
I understand that, but we looked at last season where we had Bijan, getting mystery illnesses before games, and we had some games where Algier outcarried Bijan, and then you're going to be like, oh yeah, we are going to lean on Algier. It's just like a little scary, So I went with Brees. I think Brees is probably I got in an argument or mentioned the other day, I think Brees might be the best ball carrier out of the backfield this year. Just the best pure runner. Chubb, I believe, has been one of the best pure runners in the past. He's coming off an ACL, obviously, or a pretty serious knee injury. So I believe Brees probably takes that championship. Obviously, I still believe McCaffrey's probably the best all-around running back in the league, but
I agree.
Brees, I believe, can easily take the best runner. So
I don't know, man. I think Bijan's closer than Brees to doing that.
To pure runner, I disagree. I think maybe best overall, you can probably take Bijan has a little bit better hands, and I just don't know pure runner if Bijan has that. Downhill, your third downs, your need to get a yard. I think Brees is a little better prepared for that.
I mean, I guess that would be my opinion. Not really considered pure runner. I would call that power runner, more so. Like I would say more of a pure runner to me is somebody like LaDainian. Yeah. Tomlinson.
Well, LaDainian can do all of it. That's what I mean. I think Brees can do all of it, and I think Bijan's just a little, he's a little fancier than Brees, but he's I love Bijan too. So don't get me wrong. I'm not. Yeah. It's you're picking perfect apples here. So.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Sha'Carri Richardson just won the silver medal in the 100 meters.
I did see that. It popped in my thing. I was like, I don't know if I should mention it or not. We're talking football here.
I know, but I mean, it is Olympic time, right? We can mention it. I mean, we've had a good day so far. Simone Biles took another goal. I think she's got like 10 now or something.
I watched the Olympic basketball game earlier. They're looking pretty hot. So,
yeah, I mean, that's basically a gimme right there,
So what do you think about this round so far? We got Bijan, AJ Brown.
This round really shocked me. Yeah, this has really shocked me so far, honestly.
Yeah, there's 2 to 3 picks here that I'm surprised have went here.
Yeah.
There's a couple players left on the board I'm surprised haven't went here. We'll talk about it when we get to this round, but there's a few players that I do like above some of the players that have went.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'm, one just went Murray, and I'm shocked that Murray fell this far.
Yeah, when I had Murray and I had Brees Hall in my queue. Those were the 2 players I was debating against. I just felt like I could get the same tier as Murray in the next half.
On the way back. I mean, the way it's working, you've only seen 3 off the board so far.
Yeah, and I'm loving the way this fell quarterbacks wise. That only 3 came off the board. There's at least 2 to 3 I expect to go here soon.
Yeah, I
But
definitely agree. It's there was like I think basically after Richardson went, I think every guy that picked all the way up until Murray, in my opinion, should probably have taken Murray. You know,
yeah,
from
I had definitely. If I'm Zubikis, I'm definitely taking Murray there
me too.
over Garrett Wilson. Definitely taking Murray over Nakua. But the Gibbs pick, I don't mind just because of I believe he's going to be a top
Yeah.
4 running back.
And at that point, they had a starting
Yeah.
1 QB already, so I don't hate that they passed up on Murray as much. But Zub's, that one really surprised me. And then
Bart-
Cheeky was the big one. When he fell back to Cheeky, I was like, wow. And
I'm surprised at Barkley going that high. There's at least one other running back that's been, I believe, going in front of Barkley in most instances, or I could be wrong.
I believe Kyron Williams has been going ahead of Barkley sometimes as well, hasn't he?
I don't know if I've seen Kyron. I know there's one other running back on the board that I've seen go at least in front of Barkley one other time,
which I anticipate is going to go in the next few picks. If not,
definitely. I assume. And then there's one guy still left on the board. I think he went really early in last draft, and he's still on the board here. So we'll see how that plays out.
I know exactly what you're talking about too. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
All right, let's go, Chiefs. Let's see what you got, brother. See if you take the guy you're going to take.
We have a Burrow over Stroud take in the chat. I highly disagree with that.
I don't like that Burrow over Stroud. That was Trevor, by the way. That's Trevor just trying to be smart.
He did comment on the Cowboy shirt, so I should have known. But I don't like that take.
Me neither. He's not a Burrow guy, though. He thinks Burrow's – I'm sorry. He's not a Stroud guy. He thinks Stroud is not going to be –
Yeah, he told me that. Yeah, he did tell me that. So I don't – huge difference. So he has huge difference Lamar over Stroud, and then he has Burrow over Stroud. So we can we can see Jonathan Taylor just went.
That was the one that I anticipated should have gone before Barkley, personally.
That's who I was thinking should have went before Barkley.
Me as well.
I definitely would have taken him over Kyron too. There's been reports out of camp that they just don't think that they can keep Corum off the field because he's performed so well during camp. And so they love Kyron, but they don't know if they can keep Corum off the field. So it might be a 50-50 split here, midway through the season at least. So Brock Purdy goes.
Purdy going when he already had McCaffrey. That I don't like quarterback running back stacks.
I usually don't. I usually agree with you, but I think the McCaffrey upside passing game is a little screens and stuff like that. That offense
does get a lot of dump off passes.
Yeah, so I don't mind that. I don't think I would prefer that to some of the quarterbacks still left on the board personally.
Probably the only one that you can convince me is worthy of getting.
Yeah, I cannot believe Jordan Love fell this far.
That's the other guy that was. Yep, me too. He went before Richardson in the other draft, right?
Yeah,
so you're looking at 5, 1, 2, 3, and Dak went after that too. So 4 quarterbacks went between Love, where he went last time and this time.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's almost around like a half a round difference.
Yeah, almost a full round.
Yeah. I would have taken Love right after I took Murray, but I would have took Murray in front of Dak Richardson, personally.
I thought the Dak was the big reach to me. I was so shocked that Dak went that far ahead of the other guy.
Cash made up for his round 2 pick personally. Getting that Love. Like if he got Love in the second round and then got Barkley in the third round, like we would be saying, like that's good picks there.
Cash just got autoed.
He did.
I wonder if he meant to do that. Well, it's too late now. I guess he's in there now. So
I saw his green ticker. Let's see if he says anything. ETN goes Olave. ETN. Olave's not a bad pick there.
No.
Anyway.
He might. There's Jared Goff. I think that's a good pick at that point. I think Goff's gonna have a good season.
I think he was trying to keep the stack away from short stack. Honestly. I'm not as high on Jared Goff as most of y'all on here.
See, I just think his schedule sets up for a really good season, man.
Yeah, I like Goff, but I mean, what, 2 years ago, maybe it's 3 years ago, which I mean, we just say the same thing about Tua and stuff, but he was like, they didn't think he was even going to be playing football 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
just because he wasn't,
Oh, so you had to go and say Tua, and then look what happened.
Yeah, no, I think he was going after him regardless. He has the Miami stack there. I personally don't like taking Tua there just because I feel like he's probably he's a 4th round guy, not a 3rd round guy.
Yeah, he's a volatile quarterback to me because he's one injury away from done for the career or season.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad pick. I think he's going to be hurting with injury scares for the quarterbacks. He has Anthony Richardson, and he has Tua there. So
yeah, he's going to be basically hoping for healthy seasons across the board because those are both injury prone so far, right? Injury prone.
Yeah, injury prone. Yeah, exactly. Tua really didn't. I don't think he missed any games last year, but it was nerve wracking watching him after what happened in 22 with his head and stuff. So
look at these guys talking about Kyron over here saying that same thing about Walker and Charbonnet last season.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I still – I mean, they're saying the same thing about the Walker Charbonnet this year too, so that Sharps is going to get more touches. So
I don't know if you meant to call him Karen or it was just a mistype, but it does read really funny.
Karen was RB1 last year.
So good one there, accidental or otherwise.
So we got Ayuk going right after Adams. I don't mind that.
I don't either. I think that's right around the right time for him. There's a guy on the board right here that I think you should definitely take. If you're smart, you'll take him, but I doubt you will because you don't like me.
I don't like you?
Yeah, you don't like my draft strategy, I guess.
No. Well, I'm a little mad that Herbert didn't get back to me. That's who I was targeting. I felt like he's probably in the same tier as Kyler.
Yeah, that was there's one more guy that I probably would take if I was in your boat, but I would have been wanting Herbert bad.
Yeah.
He was the last one in that tier, like you said.
Yeah, I felt like he was.
Yeah, and a couple of guys went in the next tier before him too that I would have been like happy to get, as a consolation. So it's kind of like you almost got all your consolation prizes and Herbert right before you, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I like Mike Evans here. I'm going to go with Mike Evans. There's one other guy I liked. I'm just trying to decide between positional values right now. But I felt like I would need another receiver here regardless of the way they were going in the draft. So I like Mike Evans here, taking as my wide receiver 2.
I personally don't, but that's okay. I mean, it's
as your wide receiver 2. You don't like Mike Evans?
No, I just don't think it was the right play for you at this point in the draft. I would have probably went with a different position. Like I won't say anything until the guy that I would have went with goes, and then I'll mention it. But there's 2 guys, 2 different positions that I would have targeted with these 2 picks for you.
Yeah. So, and I don't like their mind your analysis there, but I just think Mike Evans, the way it looked at the receivers, they're 2 to 3 each round. I just going back, even if I took them at the 4th pick, at the 401, I was taking a receiver there. So I just felt like Evans, I wanted a little bit more time to decide between the positional values at the 401. So that's why I took Evans over whoever I take next.
Yeah, and just give everybody a quick recap because I know we didn't really cover that pick for pick like we did in the first couple rounds. We got Drake London went with the first pick in the 3rd round, followed by Jonathan Taylor, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Chris Olave, Travis Etienne, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Devontae Adams, Brandon Ayuk, Justin Herbert, and Mike Evans. So we're about to start with round 4 here. And so far, so good. I don't think it's really enough players yet to recap any kind of a team or see where any teams are. So we'll just go ahead and keep moving on forward and see where everybody decides to go with their next round.
Completely agree. So I'm looking at – I don't want to say anybody's name, but most likely I'm going to go tight end here. There's a few on the board. There's quarterbacks that I like, but I feel like I can I don't know.
You're talking yourself out of it.
I was talking myself out of it because I was looking at the quarterbacks left, and I was like, damn, there's really not those top guys like I thought there was left.
I love it. Oh, this is great.
I got like
This is
10
drafting,
points
ladies and
here.
gentlemen. Welcome to the wonderful world of drafting.
I'm gonna switch it up at the last second. I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels as my QB1.
Ooh.
If there was some more quarterbacks on the board that I liked, I probably would have went tight end like I originally said, but.
So, I mean, I honestly, I don't hate it at that point. Even though he's your QB1, which is not a way that I would prefer to go into a season, I think there's opportunity for you to make up for it in the back end. So it's not terrible. Yeah. I would have taken Derrick Henry and a quarterback. Now that he went, Derrick Henry and a quarterback was what I would have done in your position. Because like I said, I think the depth at receiver is there and the running backs are falling off a cliff.
Yeah, but I already have a running back. Is the reason I was not even looking at it.
You still have to play two, man.
I have to play two, but I have to play at least 3 wide receivers, and I can play up to 5 wide receivers. And I believe wide receivers hold more value in the flex spots because of PPR. And so, getting at least 2 of the top 2 guys that I'll really like at wide receiver is more important than having your RB2. That's my personal opinion. So,
I mean, I get what you're trying to say there. I guess I don't feel the same way.
Would you rather have a running back or a receiver at your flex spot?
Well, it's not that I wouldn't rather have a receiver or running back. It's that I feel like the value later in the draft at receiver is better than it is at running back. So if I have to play at least 2 running backs, I want to get those positions locked in so I don't have to worry. And then I can go back and still get solid receivers to play in my 3, 4, 5, spots.
Yeah, I just disagree because once you take your second running back, then you're forced to play every running back afterward in your flex spot. Because I find that to be Trevor says it depends on the wide receiver running back. I disagree. I feel like I'm much more comfortable with a random wide receiver over a random running back just because of the PPR value.
But I don't understand is why you think that because you don't take 2 receivers or 3 receivers early, you can't get a valuable receiver for your second, third, fourth, fifth position on your roster. That doesn't make sense to me because there's so much depth at receiver that I don't see where you can't find those guys without a problem.
Yeah, but I would rather have Mike Evans as my wide receiver 2 than I would rather have Derrick Henry as my running back 2.
See, not me, because the next running back available to you is going to be a lot worse than the next receiver available to you.
Like I said, I disagree because you have to play 3. It's not like if you play 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers, I could see what you're saying, but you have to play 3 wide receivers. That's just it. I think that it expands the value of the position.
So let's look at, for example, we've got TB76 in here, right? He's got his 2 running backs early. He's got 1 receiver, 1 quarterback, right? So you're telling me he's got his two nice, good running backs there that he's not going to have an opportunity at 5'11" and 6'2" to get some solid receiver 2 and 3?
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying that if he has to pick another receiver, it's going to be his wide receiver 2, and that's going to be worse off in the long run because he's going to have to play probably a running back in the flex spot. And I want personally, the way I draft my teams, I want 2 receivers in each flex spot.
See, and I guess I don't agree with that because I don't see the drop off in the receiver position at the level that you do to where you're not valuing that receiver over the next available running backs. Because your next available running back levels, I mean, you got after a guy like maybe Zamir White area, you're looking at reaching. You're reaching and you're hoping for somebody who's going to all of a sudden just come out of nowhere and be like that guy for you. And if that's what your RB2 position is on a position that you have to play every week, no matter what, it's not a flex position. It's not somebody you can swap out for a different position when you need to. That to me is way more valuable than a flex position that if need be, I could throw in a good tight end who's maybe stepped up or a good running back who stepped up, or have more depth available at receiver so that those guys could step up. You got guys like Malachi Corley. all these rookies that came out this year that are going late in drafts that could potentially be studs.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I would you're just forced to play. I don't like running backs in my flex spot. They're just so volatile, and even if they get,
you don't even like them in your RB2 spot.
No, I don't. I don't like just drafting a running back just because you have to play 2 of them.
Yeah, Trevor's right, man. You're too set in your ways, brother. I mean, we'll see at the end of the season how it plays out. I think if you have a good, solid 2 running backs, it's not going to affect your back end enough to change your flex positions as drastically as you're making it sound. So, we'll see how it plays out. That's just my opinion. So we got teams that don't even have a running back yet. So you'll be better off than them.
Well, we got 3 teams with a running back. 1 team. Nope, they all have quarterbacks now. I was the last one to pick a quarterback. That kind of sucks.
Yep.
But Waddle goes. I really like the Nico Collins pick.
Yeah, I can't believe Waddle fell that far, to be honest with you. I thought Waddle was center.
No, Waddle's been falling to that end of the 4th round. I'm surprised that Collins fell that far. That was the only other receiver I was thinking about.
Pause the draft here, brother. Did you already pause it?
Nope. That was the only other receiver I was thinking about taking over Evans was Collins. I just felt like Evans has a little bit less target competition than Collins does.
I feel you. So let's recap real quick for everybody, since we had a whole different conversation during all those picks. We got Jaden Daniels at 4-1. Derrick Henry, Michael Pittman, Isaiah Pacheco following him. Next up, we had Sam Laporta, Trevor Lawrence, and Travis Kelce. Then Nico Collins, Cooper Kupp, Devin Achane, Jalen Waddle, and Jared Cook finished out the round. So is there anything in this round that kind of stands out to you at all, other than what we've already discussed about not 4 or 3 teams not having yet?
The James Cook pick, I think that's a little bit of a reach there, if I remember correctly. I've been seeing him go later in the drafts. Like I said previously, I like the Collins pick. I really like the Kupp pick as well. With the stuff comes out of camp that they're going to lean on Kupp over Puka. That they're really targeting Kupp. I feel like that could be a steal in the 4th round there. The Achane pick I like. He's looked really good in camp. Like I said, the Cook pick is the only one I think is a reach there, personally.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't hate it as much. I guess I would have probably taken a different position, because to me at that point, I think I kind of like the idea of another position there and then waiting to see the running back options that come back to me, since I already had Kyron. And I know I just said I like having the good RB2.
Yeah, what was we talking about?
I don't think anybody else is going to target the running backs enough. Okay. Between the next guys that are up.
The only thing I would say is you got at least 2 people that don't have running backs. And so that one, if he's getting his guy, I don't mind the pick there. I think I have 1 running back that's still left on board over him.
Now, I do have to say that I also have a little bit of hesitance with Cook because of what I've been hearing and stuff out of camp. So Cook has been sliding a little bit in my mind over the last week or so. So, all right, let's move on. Let's see what he does with this next pick, since he's back to back.
Yeah, I want to hear after he picks if that was the position that you were hoping he would take there.
Yeah, well, I mean, now if he took the guy that I wanted him to take, now I think it wouldn't be the right approach. But if he does, go with that position, there's another guy that I would take as well too, that I think he should have no problem taking if he wants to right here. We're going to find out here in a second, because I'm sure I'm just in the delay. He might have already made the pick. There it is, Trey McBride. So that's one of the 2 guys I would have probably been okay with taking here. To be honest with you, I think my number 1 target at that point would have been Caleb Williams, just because he's already got Josh Allen to solidify QB1, and Caleb could potentially be a solid QB2 by the end of the season. So, yeah, I know. I called out a guy that's on the board. I'm not drafted, though, I guess, right?
Yeah, you're not drafted, but I am. But yeah, I agree. I like Trey McBride. I don't know if I would have taken McBride over the positions quarterbacks or the wide receivers there. But I do like McBride. I'm thinking that what do you want to call him? Co-editing. I was thinking he was probably targeting McBride to come back around just because he has Murray, but I could be wrong there. No, he got the Smith stack. I think he put that pretty fast, so he was probably targeting Smith the whole way.
He probably was. I mean, like now, since the guy Chiefs life, the reason that I wouldn't have taken the guy that I previously would have taken, and this might give it away, but I don't like that he drafted Josh Allen and James Cook with the running back receiver stack. Because especially like how we talked about, you could talk me into the McCaffrey and Purdy option.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Yeah.
I think they rob each other a lot more than anything else. Cook either gets the touchdown or Josh gets the touchdown.
Josh runs it. Yeah, there's so much volatility. Yeah.
So I don't think there'd be nearly as much dump off as tight passing to him at all. So that to me was like a tough one. And then that did change my approach for the other position as well, because, when that guy goes, I'll explain that part of it. But, there's definitely a reason that I wouldn't have taken my original target now with having 2 Bills on his team.
Yeah. I like the way this round is going. There's still a player I think should be there's at least 2 players I think should be taken already. But I don't mind the value of each of these positions besides maybe Jacobs. I think Jacobs might be a little bit of a reach personally. I'm not a huge Jacobs fan regardless. But
I don't mind it, honestly. I think he's on a good offense. The only thing is they do have the tendency to do a little bit more of a dual back setup. But
they have quite a few options. They said Dillon has looked the best he's ever looked in camp. They also just have it's all coaches talking here.
How good does that mean? Like, really?
I hate this time of the year because it's like, what do you believe and what don't you believe? But they said he looks the best, and then they had the rookie coming in as well that they could honestly go to pure committee.
I think Marshawn Lloyd is the more threat than Dillon.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is too, but I'm just saying pure. Like they could just have all. Dillon gets the straight goal line carries. Jacobs gets most of the carries, and then Marshawn Lloyd gets your third downs. So I don't know how they're going to do that. Kenneth Walker goes.
Yeah. I don't mind. I don't hate that pick there. It's tough though, because we're getting to the point, as much as I don't like him, there's a guy on the board that I think we're getting to that point where I think it's hard not to take him.
I agree.
Even though I don't like him, and Trevor's going to laugh at me when the guy finally goes and we talk about him by name. But,
yeah, he just has to make it, I think, through these next 3 picks, and then he should be home free to my team.
So do you know who Thrill Kill took already, obviously, since I'm probably on a delay and you said 3?
No, Thrill Kill has not made his selection. He has 10 seconds left. Oh, there he goes.
Oh, there he went. Yep.
That was the guy too. I would have taken him over Cook, in my opinion. I would have taken him over Cook. I would have taken him over Jacobs.
It would have been hard for me to take him over Cook and Jacobs, but I definitely think I would have probably had to take him over Walker. I would have felt obligated at that point because of the target share aspect of it. But I can't stand White. He is my number one overdrafted player in fantasy. Now that he's fallen to 5'8", it's maybe where I start to consider it. But other than that, man, he is just such a bad producer in my opinion. It's hard to take somebody less than 3 yards per carry average for his career. It's crazy.
There's one player I'm really hoping falls to me. It's not probably looking good that he does, but it's Mark Andrews. No, I'm just playing. Don't take Mark Andrews. No. But
there goes. That's another running back that I would have thought would have been a little earlier because he's been hot.
I've been high on. There's 2 players I've been high on all year or all off season. I'm hoping they both get to me. Walker over Rasheed White all day. I disagree, but I don't mind the selection. I just think White probably should have went sooner.
Yeah, I mean he took Walker over White, so he's obligated to say that. Yeah. So I know it's a receiving upside. It's just it's that's you're anticipating that Baker's going to have another up year, and Baker hasn't had 2 good years in a row his entire career. So it looks like you got one of your guys. I'm assuming.
I got both of my guys falling to me. I got my other guy will be here on this next selection, but I wanted to go over the round.
I bet I know who it is.
You probably do. I've taken him a lot, so actually just traded him away, and they said I gave him up for free. Like, come on.
So let's recap real quick. We had Trey McBride going at the first pick in the 5th round, and then Devontae Smith, DJ Moore, Josh Jacobs, Caleb Williams were the next 4. Debo Samuel, Ken Walker, Rashid White, DK Metcalf, and Joe Mixon followed them up. And then the last 2, we had Matthew Stafford and Malik Neighbors. So I think we're getting to a point now, too, where, you got to start worrying about position a little more than you might have prior, right? You got to really start trying to target the guys you need to target.
I think that's why TB, I think Stafford's a little bit of a reach there, but I think he knew that because I didn't have my second quarterback, that he wanted to make sure that he got his guy. And so I think that's why
I thought you might have been targeting Stafford. So the fact that I thought that, I'm sure that's what he thought.
Yeah, I'm targeting a different quarterback later on. I've been hearing some good things out of camp from him. Hopefully nobody understands the lingo there, but I'm targeting a guy later on.
Name in the comments.
Yeah, I've been looking at him for the start of this draft just because I've saw some of the ways that the 12th spot has drafted in the past. Get your cursor off my player, please.
What are you talking about? I just had it floating.
There is a quarterback I've been looking at for since the beginning of this draft that I just knew I was targeting later in the rounds. And that's one of the reasons I didn't go quarterback early on. So we'll get started, and I'll take my player here. There's your RB2. I feel like RB2 and getting Kamara there is going to be absolutely fantastic. I've really liked my team so far. My quarterback 2 hopefully can fall back to me in the next round. If not, I'm going to be kind of mad. Yeah. I'll be playing Will Levis.
He's one of the few good targets left, I think, at the RB2 position. So that's the time where if you didn't take one in this turn, then I would have been like, okay, now you're looking at some dire straits potentially.
Yeah, so, that's one reason I didn't go Henry. I just felt like one of those guys I liked, whether it was White or whether it was Mixon or Kamara, was going to fall back to me at the RB2 position, and I didn't feel like I could get that top tier receiver. And I really like Neighbors. I think he's looking so good at camp, and I've been watching too many camp videos preparing for this draft apparently, but this is going to be a pure camp video
hype
team.
Train.
So if this team does not win it all,
man.
Yeah, do not ever watch camp videos before you draft. If this team doesn't win, that's really what it tells me.
Yeah, especially not like preseason camp videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we got Amari Cooper going right after the Kamara pick and Stephon Diggs. So we got Bender Over is I believe the first one to take a 4th receiver.
Wow.
So he's got.
Trevor's mad that he's calling me out. What am I going to do about my flex spot? I'm going to have 2 receivers there here in a couple of rounds, Trevor.
Exactly. The ones that fall back around to you.
I already have my 3 receivers. I would have had to take in a freaking, 2 receivers there, and I don't really want to take 2 receivers.
I like how you literally contradicted yourself with your draft strategy, and then I contradicted myself talking about the running back.
I did not contradict myself. I've taken my 3 receivers, and so I take my RB2.
Whatever, you're a hypocritizer too.
It's okay, Trevor. When I spank you in any league that I'm in, I don't think I'm in any leagues besides Dynasty, and I'm definitely not winning that. So it's okay. Call me out all you want, Trevor.
Oh, that's funny.
Zay Flowers goes. There's still one receiver I'm taking over Zay Flowers, but I don't mind the value on the Zay Flowers pick there. But there's a bunch of different positions at the top of the queue right now. Dalton Kincaid goes.
I bet you like that. Oh, do you have your mute off? Or is that me?
My mute?
Yeah, on your thread.
I don't have any tabs open.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think we heard it in the stream. So whatever it was just came out of the.
Oh, I was hearing an echo on my end.
Oh, okay.
Got that. Sounds like it's gone now.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, it might have just been like a little glitch or whatever. Zubicus said that pick was for you. What do you think about that pick there?
Oh, that's great. It's wonderful. The best pick in the draft.
I just don't know if that at that time where there's so many, tight ends at the top of this queue, like they're just falling. It looks like,
But
according to
Dalton is
Secret.
definitely the best of the bunch, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I don't.
I
I
think
wouldn't
Dalton
even.
is as tight end one, brother. I really do.
I wouldn't even disagree with you there. I just think that there's just so many the same position at the top of the queue. That means they're falling usually. Yeah, the position is falling, and so another one will probably come back around that's a little closer in value compared to these other positions.
See, I don't agree with that because you've got only one other guy, in my opinion, that's at the level that Kincaid's at, and there's no way that if he falls all the way back to him, I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked. So if there's, I'd be 2 or 3 I could see go before he gets back to him. So if that happens, then he's going to end up sitting there where he's looking at his best option. Now he's going to have to bypass that position and look at a different position because the tier break is there. So. To me, I would have taken, if my guy's on the board like he would have been for me and Kincaid being number 1 in my rankings, I would have jumped all over it at 6th round like that. So I think it's the right pick at the time for sure. And I think his build is okay to take a tight end at that point too.
Yeah, I don't mind the build. I just think when they're falling like that, like just according to Sleep Ready, that doesn't mean they're actually falling. They're just at the top of the queue. There's like 5 of them in a row. That usually means that they're going down the draft, and not many people are taking him. Which obviously he was the 4th one taken. I'm more comfortable taking a lower rated tight end in the next round because they're going to be taking other positions. It's a risk. It's a risk. Yeah.
If there's a guy that at 7-7 for him that comes back around that's in the same tier, in your opinion, then do you take him and have 2 top tier tight ends and one playing in your flex? Where do you consider that top tier tight end as a flex play?
So if it's like none of these guys, honestly, maybe the last guy I might consider doing that would have been Kincaid. Maybe there's one other guy, I don't want to say his name, that I consider doing that with, but
me too, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows where we're at with that. So
besides that, the only other time I'm doing that is with these 4 top guys that have already been taken.
I didn't like that pick at all.
You don't like the Keenan Allen pick? Me either.
Not when you already got DJ Moore in the last round right ahead of him. That's too many players on the same squad. Only one of them.
It's okay, Kiki.
Yeah, that's the only one, man. I would have probably went with him.
Sorry, I'm bringing up Camp. Sorry, Daddy been doing this. I'm sure that's Mr. Been doing this, Dad. No, I'm just playing. It's probably just Mr. Been doing this, but
hey, at least he's not talking stats.
Yeah, right. 6 round receivers only have a 0% hit rate. No. And then Rashee Rice goes. Oh, Kirk, and then Rashee Rice goes.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid round, I think, across the board. You had Kamara, Cooper, Diggs, Cousins, Flowers, Kincaid, Higgins, Dell, Pickens, Allen, Kirk, Rice. So, those are all guys that I could have easily seen going in this round without a problem. There's a couple guys I definitely think should have already been off the board, but
there's definitely positional values that I think are going to get real big here, especially at tight end. There's 4 tight ends at the top.
So I think what's really surprising to me, to be honest with you so far, is that this is the first draft I feel like we've gone through 6 rounds and only one team has more than 3 receivers. I feel like we've had at least 2 or 3 teams that have drafted heavy receiver every draft until this one. This is the only one that we have that guy doing that. It's kind of crazy.
Because I think I was the guy last time that had 5 straight receivers before I even took another positional position.
You were one of like 2 or 3 other teams that were doing that.
Yeah, and I think there's another guy that did that in the previous draft where they took 5 straight receivers without taking a running back or tight end or anything. I don't mind any of these teams. Honestly, they look pretty neat. Cheeky said that it was a panic pick at Keenan Allen, which I understand that happens to the best of us. I would have taken
through it, man. It's tough sometimes.
I would have taken Pickens before a couple of those receivers, probably right after Cooper in front of Diggs. Personally, I'm pretty big on Pickens this year. Besides that, I think it's pretty chalk.
Yeah, I don't like Diggs going as early as he does because, at this, he could easily be the wide receiver 3 in that offense. We just don't know it. So it's hard for me to put a 6-round stake on that. especially with guys like Zay Flowers, who are the number one target on his team. There.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, you could have easily taken the wide receiver 3 over the wide receiver 2 on that team if Tank Dell turns out to be the wide receiver 2. So, that's just to me, Diggs is too volatile to risk at this point in the draft. So
I agree. He really didn't look that great at the end of last year, and he's another year older, and he's on a team with more target competition. It's just not the situation I'm really targeting. It was his 4th receiver, which is good. It's not like this is his, his first or second.
Like his team a lot better with like Flowers as his 4th.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
4th or like that to me, because they're sitting there for him. So either way, though, it's not a terrible build in general. It's just like you said, being his 4th receiver. If it doesn't hit, it's not going to break his team.
Yeah, and I don't like that he took Mixon and then Diggs back to back.
Yeah, he's too Houston heavy.
Yeah.
So then you had Mark Andrews go, and that's the other tight end that I would say. So
I personally have him in front of Kincaid. I don't know why he fell that far behind Kincaid. I mean, that's almost a round behind Kincaid. There's Pitts. That's another guy I'm pretty high on this year because of the quarterback play. But I assume this is the way this round would be tight end. McLaurin, I really like McLaurin. I probably would have taken him in front of Keenan Allen, Kirk, Rashee Rice. I think Rashee Rice probably has a little bit better chance of not getting suspended. So maybe I take Rice over McLaurin.
I think if Rice doesn't get suspended, it's a steal of a pick at the end of the 6th.
Yeah, I agree. So,
I mean, he could easily be the wide receiver 1. He's the one there that has the most chemistry with Patrick so far. And in that, wide receiving core. And I think Kelsey is going to take a slight step back just because he's older. And I don't think he's going to be required to be as much for the season because they're going to want him to be more in the playoffs. So they'll probably try to ease his way through the season a little bit more than they have in the past. Like, especially last year, they leaned on him a lot last year because the receiving core was just so much worse, than they are now. So that's my thought anyways. Andy's a smart guy. He knows how to run an offense better than any coach, in my opinion. So, I know he's going to have a game plan.
I think this year Kelsey really opens up the receivers opened up for him like they didn't last year. They have a lot better options, especially if Rice is not suspended. They have a couple speed guys, Brown and Worthy, that are just, burners. And then they have Rice. I feel like that just opens up. I feel like a lot of teams doubled him with a linebacker and a safety last year. And so he wasn't getting those, easy dump passes like he was in previous years. I just feel like that team opens up a little bit more and Kelsey takes those. I think he probably takes a step up from what he did last year. In terms of fantasy production.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. Absolutely. What do you think so far, the way that this is playing out with the DeAndre Swift pick there? I'm a little hesitant on that pick because I kind of feel like there's a couple of running backs I probably would have taken ahead of him at that point, and I probably would have taken another position because of that. So, I mean, I can understand wanting to get that second back there. That's definitely an approach I appreciate. I just think that was maybe the wrong second back at that point.
Yeah, I don't mind the like you said. I completely agree with what you said. I don't mind the positional pick. I would have taken
any one of those next 3, honestly.
Yeah, any one of those next.
Maybe not Stevenson. Maybe not.
Like Stevenson. I like Stevenson more than I like Jones.
I would probably go with like Connor, Jones, Stevenson in my order. But I think Swift is behind him because I just don't think Swift's going to be a bell cow kind of scenario.
Chief said
that chance.
I like what Chief said here. I don't like it, but it's interesting. He was at the first week camp and Rice is killing it. There's no talk of him being suspended. Guaranteeing him for I think that's great for him fantasy wise. I don't know how that plays out in the end legally though.
I think it all depends on the legal scenarios. Like if they end up like getting something done legally prior to the season, I think the NFL is going to feel obligated to do something at some point. If nothing gets done before the season gets going, as far as legally is concerned, I think that his lawyers will be able to postpone it long enough to keep it happening until next off season. Yeah, and then we'll hear about it next year. So I mean, continuations and lawyers and things like that, man, they're so good at doing that kind of stuff, dude. They could easily just continue to push this back as far as possible. So,
yeah.
I kind of like that pick there at that point. Jaden Reed, I think, is a
Yeah,
solid.
that was the receiver I was targeting there. There's another guy I like here. Probably will take him. I'm trying to decide between these tight ends. I've been taking both of them.
Just go ahead and take the guy that I know you really want to take so you can hype them all up.
I don't know who that is, honestly. I honestly don't know who that is. So, well, I'll have you tell me when he goes. But
Yeah, we'll see if it's the guy that you take, and if not, I'll mention it when the time comes.
okay. Okay.
Just teasing you, bro.
No, you're good.
I couldn't find it in the sound effects quick enough, so I just went ahead and did it
I'm
myself.
gonna go against my usual draft strategy is stay away from multiple rookies, but I do have 3 rookies on this team. I just feel like they're falling a little bit. Maybe that's a good thing, and maybe that's a bad thing for me taking them. But I've seen Rome go a little bit earlier than this. I like Rome as my 4th receiver. But I'm still trying to decide between these tight ends, honestly. So I was picking a receiver. I wanted Jaden Reed there. He gets taken. There's not really any receivers besides maybe one, which I already have the same team there. So that I would take over Rome. So,
I mean, I guess there's a couple of receivers I think I would have taken over Rome, honestly.
I disagree with that assessment. I think he's a steal in this round. Honestly, the 7th.
It's just, I mean, not to say that I don't have confidence in what he can do. I just this season, right, with the setup they have this season, I just don't know how much they're going to plan on utilizing him, especially early on. Like, I mean, he might be a guy that you've got on your bench until like week 8, when after their bye week. You know, like he might.
And I'm okay with taking that as my 4th receiver because regardless, he might. If I can get another high positional value there, I'm fine with that. But
don't forget about your flexes. You got to play these guys in your flex
he's
spot.
In my flex. But you want to go over the round real quick, and then I'll start it back up.
Absolutely. We got Aaron Rodgers went first pick in this round, followed by Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts. And then we had a receiver go off in Terry McLaurin, followed by a run of 4 running backs with DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, James Conner, and Ramondre Stevenson. Then we had another tight end come off the board in Jake Ferguson, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Reed, and ended up with Rome Odunze. So I definitely like the Ferguson pick. I think that he's a guy that's been like kind of underrated in that offense. So I don't think that he's one of those guys that was overdrafted. I feel like at the end of the season, you're going to look at that pick and think it was a good pick there. So I definitely like that at that point.
I agree. I like Ferguson. I like the Mark Andrews pick. I mean, most of these tight ends are falling anyway. So I think they're good values no matter where you pick them. I think we said we didn't like the Swift pick as much. You didn't really like the Rome pick. I can see that a little bit. And then I like the Baker Mayfield pick for that team. Anything else I see?
Yeah. And as much as I dislike what Baker's going to do this year, I think it's hard not to take him at that point. So I don't dislike it. So, all right. So what are you going to do then? You're going with Kittle, huh?
I'm going with Kittle just because I'm a little afraid of that Jacksonville offense there. I have a little bit more faith in the San Francisco offense. We'll see if it turns out. I've taken both. Kittle and Ingram, sorry to say his name, but they both have been like the same tier for me. I think you could take either of them, and they're basically the same fantasy production. So just which one gets hurt, which one gets more targets.
Yeah, I think if Kittle stays healthy, he's the better tight end at the end of the season.
That's why I took him. I was a little bit nervous about his injuries history and stuff, but
so basically we know you've been watching a lot of camp videos and a lot of Netflix.
I haven't seen the receiver show. I think I said that last time, but I haven't watched it yet. The reality TV is just not. I love football. The reality TV is just not up my alley. I didn't even watch quarterback. Sorry to put that out there, but
oh my gosh, son. All right, so that's your homework then before the next episode that you're on.
I don't do.
You gotta watch wide receiver. You gotta watch receiver.
I tried to watch that Kelsey show where they had like Jason Kelsey's life or whatever in there, and I was like,
no. Watch this show, bro. It's football based, dude. You gotta watch them. They're not like reality TV and shit as much.
You sound like my fiance. Like, you gotta watch it. It's football. It's football. It's all American, It's not freaking football. It's drama. Get out of here with the drama.
I mean, we know you're not a real fan anyway because you don't even have a team that you're dedicated to. So,
Okay.
you know, obviously that explains why you're not watching these amazing shows.
Yep. That explains it 100%. I cannot stand the drama. Mr. Been doing this. No, I'm just playing.
Zamir White. There goes your boy.
I like Zamir. What is that? That's his second running back? Yeah, I don't mind that pick. The David Montgomery pick. I think David Montgomery's getting a little bit overdrafted, but at that point, I don't mind him either.
I don't agree with that. I think he's getting underdrafted because I mean the guy basically is their goal line guy, you know, and he still has the opportunity to break it. He's a good back, man.
I don't think he's bad. I just think Gibbs is just going to get more. I think it's a little bit different split. I think Montgomery was tight end or touchdown dependent when Gibbs came back from injuries. So,
I mean, maybe it's a tough call for me, man. I like Gibbs a lot, so I can't hate on him, but I have a lot of love for Monty, and I think they do in that offense. I think they actually really like him just in general. So I don't think they're just going to phase him out altogether. And I don't think they want to put Gibbs in a position where he's got more injury opportunity, especially early in the year. So, you know, maybe down the stretch, Gibbs starts to take more carries away from him when they really want to showcase him. But I think early on, especially, I think Monty still has a pretty large role in that offense.
Yeah, I think Brett said the first half of the year, Monty was the goal line guy. Second half was Gibbs. I agree, but I think Monty still had he had like a 75-yard touchdown breakaway that saved that week. There's like another week where he scored 2 touchdowns and had like 39 yards or something like that, that saved his fantasy production, and that's why people are still drafting him that high. But like when Gibbs got back from that injury, I think he missed like 2 weeks maybe, or maybe a week. Once he got back from that, Gibbs was like the main, getting most of the touches and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I definitely think that Monty's going to have a larger role than people give him credit for, and his draft, capital has been kind of where I think it's a good pick to take him at that point, like right now. Although I probably would have taken Najee over him just because I have more faith that Najee's going to get a good percentage of that carries, minimum 50-50. I'm expecting more. I know there's been a lot of talk about, Najee potentially losing his starting job there and everything, but I still think that they're gonna give him one more year with this new offensive coordinator to see how he does.
And I know Cash just got autoed there, but I do like that Jackson Smith and Yurba pick. I think he could easily. I said this I think a few pods ago that I think he could probably take that wide receiver 1 rollover. At least that wide receiver 2 spot from Lockett. So I do like that pick there. I think that's a good value, personally.
I'm with you on that. I agree. I think that JSN is an undervalued target for me this year.
The Godwin pick was the only other receiver I might have taken over Rome. I just had Evans. I like the Ridley pick because of the Hopkins injury that we haven't talked about much, but the Hopkins injury for the first 6 to 8 weeks, I think it said. Or he's missing 6 to 8 weeks. I don't remember if that was from right now or if that was 6 to 8 weeks of the season. I don't remember exactly, but that was the only 2 receivers I was really looking at over Rome.
I probably would have taken Ladd over Rome just for target share potential.
Yeah.
It has the opportunity to be the wide receiver 1 early in that offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that Rome's just more skilled. I mean, he was drafted what?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's hard for me when he's getting 1 of 3 targets. Between where Ladd could literally be the main man there. He's not sharing with pretty much anybody that's gonna demand targets. They just paid more. Moore's definitely going to get his targets. They brought in Keenan Allen for a reason. He's getting his targets.
Yeah, and like I said, Rome could be. I think he has all of those in his range. I think he could be the wide receiver 1 there. I think he's talented enough. I don't bet on it, but I think just betting on that pick, I think I'm a little bit more comfortable betting on talent with my 4th receiver than I would be if that was my 2nd or 3rd.
I get you.
He has higher upside, but
I think you're right as far as dynasty aspects, but in redraft, I think I go Ladd all day. So then they got Jaylen Warren going off the board 4 picks after Najee. So that tells you how that camp
Who do you prefer?
is affecting things.
Who do you
I
prefer?
like Najee right now over Warren. I mean, I'll take Warren if he's dropping farther, but he's now that we're looking at this scenario, he used to be a round and a half or so behind Najee. Now you're looking 4 picks. So I'm taking Najee if it's only a 4-pick difference.
I don't know if I'm taking either of them. Like I agree. I think they're I don't know if they're either of them is going to win that backfield. I don't know. It might just be a
hit that pause
pick out of my face. No, I was playing.
So give a quick recap. We had George Kittle, Lad McConkey, Zamir White, David Montgomery, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Najee Harris, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson, Jalen Warren, and Christian Watson in that order. So we already talked about a few of these picks. Let's talk about the one that just happened, Christian Watson. I know you don't like him at all. I think he's the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay. You know, he went where did Jaden Reed go again? He went at 7-11. So he went almost 1 round and 1 pick later than Jaden Reed. So to me, that's actually a lot less of a gap than I've seen in the past. Yeah. So do you think that people are starting to come around to the idea of him being the wide receiver 1, or do you think that's just because of
I sure hope not. I think that's a bad pick personally, but I have seen some more Christian Watson love across multiple leagues, multiple sites, multiple people I've talked to. You and Scott are huge Watson fans. Me and Ken, I believe, we're not huge Watson fans. I just don't think he'd stay healthy, honestly. I don't trust that at all. I think he might be their wide receiver 3. He might be their wide receiver 4. He could be their wide receiver 1. I think that's a less likely possibility for him because of his injuries.
I just don't agree with you. I mean, I think now that he's got 2 of the same size hammies, he's going to be just fine. So, I mean, I think he's going to be okay.
That's just such a painful way to say that, right? Like he has 2 same size hammies. Like, yeah, that's not what I want out of my receivers.
Well, hey, I mean, like you said, though, that's his receiver 3, right? So it's not like he's, solely dependent on Watson. And who knows what he does here? He could take another receiver right now and leave himself in a good position to have a backup in case Watson does get hurt.
Yeah, I agree with. I like what Chief said. He said the reason he picked him was because he wasn't going to make it back to him, and his upside's crazy. I think that's probably the best way to look at taking Watson. I don't think, like you said, betting on him to be a wide receiver 1 is what you want. I think I would have taken Addison and then Watson, but it doesn't matter because they're both receivers. But
that's the strategy that we talked about is basically, he's taken his injury prone high upside guy and he's taken what he considers a safe floor in Jordan Addison. So that's basically the same kind of strategy approach to it.
Yeah. And I like I said, I like the Addison pick more than I like the Watson pick, but since you got both of them, I don't think taking Watson as your wide receiver 4 is a bad play.
He just did that because he knows our opinions on it, and he wanted to give us a little something to chat about.
I've been watching too much of you and Scott. Like, I got to take Watson here. They're going to talk about Watson.
I think it was a great pick.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Yeah, you're glad Scott's not here. He'd be freaking.
Second best pick of the draft.
That's the best team. He's got Watson. He's got Rice.
We got the first 3rd quarterback off the board.
Wow. I mean, I don't mind that pick for him, honestly.
Ooh, and then
Levis, I don't like that pick, but what are we crazy about, Chiefs?
Scott would love it.
Chiefs is calling us crazy. I don't know. We like the picks, Chiefs. We like the picks.
He's probably talking about Brett's opinion on Watson in the comments.
Maybe so. I didn't even see that, but yeah.
He said Watson is a bust. Has the talent, can't stay healthy to save his life. That's because he didn't have the same size hammies, man. He got specialized hammy help this offseason.
There goes Raheem. I was really hoping he was going to fall back to me, honestly. I wanted him as my running back 3.
He's one of the other running back targets that I like to snag late in the draft.
I like him a lot. I think that's a great pick, Mr. Ben. I think there's maybe one. I mean, you need a tight end. That's about it. But I do like that pick, honestly. Raheem Mostert. I think he's getting underdrafted. I think I said that last on the bonus pod on Saturday or whatever.
This is a good time to bring up something too. As soon as this guy makes his pick, I'll say it because I don't want to affect his opinion here. But when you look at this draft board, there's a real specific reason why I would have gone in the direction that Mr. Ben doing this went, as opposed to the tight end option. And the reason I say that is if you look at the board, now that Cash has made his pick, he's one of the other teams without a tight end. So I didn't want to mention it. But you look at the board, right? You've got a lot of teams with tight ends now. You start to look at that aspect of it when you're making your picks here. When he's evaluating that pick, he's looking at the board going, okay, I've got 1, 2, 3 teams behind me that don't have a tight end. How many tight ends are on the board? Would I be happy with the 4th tight end left if I don't take him now? And all 3 of those guys decide to take one before my next pick. Yeah. So, he's looking at the board. We've got these 3 at the top of the board, and then we've got some guys down lower. Like, do I like those guys lower enough? And, obviously he decided that either he wasn't worried about it at all, and that wasn't even in his mindset, or that's what his decision ended up being, that he's cool with the 4th tight end if that ends up being the case. So when you're doing these drafts and things like that, at a certain point, usually around like the 7, 8, 9, 10, like in that range, you want to start looking at those factors to help you make your decision if you're stuck between 2 different guys at 2 different positions.
Yeah. And then Geno Smith goes off. I like Geno Smith, but I don't know if y'all have heard the news. He's had some like injury, something. He's
got some injury. He says that he should be fine. It's just going to be preseason thing, and he should be ready to roll. But I mean, it's his second QB, so it's a little bit of a risk, even if he starts. Right? He's not considered a great play.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if I take Geno there, just knowing he's an older, like he's aging, right? He's like 35 or something.
Yeah, I love that Jonathan Brooks pick, by the way.
Yeah, I like that pick too. I was kind of hoping he made it back to me for my third running back, but none of these guys, they've been watching too much of these pods.
I've been taking him early with the intention of covering my butt later on with something. And I've been snagging him in quite a bit of leagues because I do anticipate him being that league-winning type of player at the end of the season. So, not to say I want to have to start him week 1, but I definitely want him on my team when we get close to like week 12 and start making those pushes.
Yeah, I like Jonathan Brooks in the long run. I don't think he starts week 1.
Yeah, as a third back, he's a great
person. I agree. I like that pick for sure. I don't think he starts week 1. I think by week 6, maybe week 7, that he's the dominant back there.
Yeah. And then he instantly becomes a potential RB. He instantly becomes a low-end RB2, in my opinion, with the potential to move his way into an RB1 role, but by the end of the season.
Yeah, I like that pick. They said he won't play the first 4 weeks. I didn't see that news, Trevor. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I think Trevor's making it up. He's tendency to do that when he wants to make a point.
I just looked at the Jonathan Brooks player profile, and it does say he's not expected to be ready until week 3 or 4. So just so we're clear, we have a pub sub on week 1, Ezekiel Elliott. All Ezekiel does have to do is not score negative points.
All right. I'll just give you one of the many pub subs that I'm going to get from Ken.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad of how this round went, honestly.
Is that one of your back targets coming out right ahead of you?
Well, it's not just that the backs have went; it's that there's no tight ends went, and I picked one. The same tight end I would have picked at the last round is still there, and so that kind of hurts me a little bit.
That's where you look at the position. You had 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that didn't have a tight end when you made that selection.
Yeah, and there Ingram goes, which helps me a lot. Thank you, TV.
I mean, that doesn't really matter though, because Ingram or Kittle would have been one of the two would have been left for you, right? He might take Kittle.
No, somebody else would have taken Kittle. Get that out of my head. But I am gonna take my guy that I've been targeting. I was looking at quarterback. It might be a little bit of a reach just because he's a rookie again. But I've been loving the JJ McCarthy, the camp talk, the videos I've seen of JJ McCarthy. I love the offense that he has around him. I think he could be a steal there if he performs as what there's some Andrew Luck comp or something I read. So we'll see how that plays out. That was the guy I was targeting in the end. I was really hoping to go back-to-back quarterbacks here with either Levis.
I was wondering that.
Either Levis or Geno Smith with him, so I didn't rely on quarterbacks. McCarthy isn't starting. I have seen the opposite out of camp. I have seen that he is starting.
I've heard that Sam Darnold has struggled and he's looked like really crisp.
That's exactly what I've heard. I've heard originally before preseason and stuff was getting going is that Darnold was the expected starter. Since camp, I've read that McCarthy has just sliced and diced the defenses. So
he says he's not playing with the starters in camp.
He's been playing against the first team defense. I will tell you that I have watched. So
if he's tearing up the first team defense with the backups, then that's an even better sign.
Yeah. So we'll go through the round here and then we'll get started.
Absolutely. So we had starting out this round, we started out with Jordan Addison and then followed that up with two quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson and Will Levis, followed by a trio of positions, one running back in Raheem Mostert, wide receiver in Xavier Worthy, and another quarterback in Geno Smith. Then we had that nice running back run we discussed with Devin Singletary, Jonathan Brooks, Zach Moss, and Austin Eckler going off the board. The Evan Ingram Savior pick happened right before C-Bomb took J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, and like I said, it might be a little bit of reach to take McCarthy there. I think he's going a little bit lower than that usually. It's just my quarterback options for quarterback 2 are pretty slim. Sorry, I'm reading these stupid comments about Sam Darnold not getting first team reps. Get it off of my comment section, Brett. But I think JJ McCarthy, even if he doesn't start week 1, I'll be able to cover that on my back end.
Whatever's happening now too doesn't mean nothing compared to what happens in these preseason games in the next few weeks. So it's really not going to make as much of a difference now. What we're hearing, we'll know more in the end of the preseason. Yeah,
and as for the picks, there's no pick I really don't like. Honestly, I really like. I like the Mostert pick. I think we talked about. I like the Watson pick. I think he fell a little bit later than I thought he was going to. Some of the guys.
The Brooks pick.
The Brooks pick also.
It's probably my favorite pick
and Ingram falling that far is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
No, it's all good, Brett. I'm just talking crap. I just been watching the videos of Sam slicing and dicing the defense. So.
And I'll give anybody who's an actual fan of that team credit for whatever they're telling us is happening with their team, because I know as a Bills fan, I'm following my training camp.
You didn't even know who they played week 1. You didn't even know who they played week 1.
Because I'm following training camp updates. I'm so focused on the now. You know what I'm saying? Like week 1 is coming up. I'm worried about preseason first, buddy.
I got you. All right, we'll get started here.
All right, this is our last round of pause. Right after this round, it's going to go ahead and move on through, and we'll continue to kind of recap.
Yeah, we'll pause after this round, after 10, and then go through like the drafts and stuff like that. But I am going to double tap the quarterback position here.
I still would have if I was you too. So
I just don't know which one I want to take. Looking at my
who I would think if I was you. Let's do this for the viewing audience.
Don't be doing that.
What you say you're taking
look bad. I'm trying to see who you're picking.
We're all dripping with anticipation.
All right, I'm gonna go with Bryce Young.
That's the one you should have went with. Good call.
That's not the Sean. Okay, yeah, because I'm not a big fan of Derek Carr. He was the only other one I was looking at. Not that anybody really cares about my opinion, apparently, but I felt like I needed a third quarterback there because I have two rookie quarterbacks as my 1 and 2s.
So you got a second guy as your 3.
Yeah. And so I was looking at maybe a little high upside guy. I'm not the biggest fan of Bryce Young either. I love the Gary. Gary is like the biggest Bryce Young fan of all time. So I've been listening a little bit too much to Gary, but I'll probably be starting Bryce Young week 1. So Gary,
think
if you're
For
there,
where you were at in this draft and the quarterbacks on the board, I think that's the best option you had.
yeah. So even if McCarthy doesn't play, I'll still have a decent play there. I hope. So I was looking at the positional value. I didn't really need my flex just yet. I didn't think there's some guys I really like down on the bottom of the boards that I hope get back to me. So
I like TB's strategy at the receiver position here. He's got Justin, Amari, and Jaden as his top guys that are guaranteed, targets and potential, wide receiver 1 targets on their offense. And then he's got, 2 upside rookies that could easily be the wide receiver 1 and, for by the end of the season on their offenses. So I think he made a really good kind of approach there with that and decision on how to go after that position personally.
Again, on that note of people's strategies, I really like short strategy right here. He hits Zach Moss, who was prepared to be the week 1. Like he was supposed to be getting all these touches and stuff. Took him, and then he took Chase Brown on the way back to cover it because apparently Chase Brown has been getting first team reps in camp. So he has the Cincinnati's first team running back there, regardless of what happens. And so I really like this strategy there. Taking both of those back to back.
See, I'm kind of on the opposite side of the fence a little bit. I feel like he basically wasted like 2 rounds of picks going after one position. Like he covered his butt, yes, but he had to do it at the cost of back-to-back picks where, you go from David Montgomery to the player he's going to get at 11-9. You got a pretty big gap there, basically losing out on one full player role. Right.
Yeah,
so
I agree. I think if he was going that position, maybe he takes a wide receiver the round before.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have picked the guy I think is the man and went with my gut on it and not tried to CYA it.
Yeah, but I think he might have changed his strategy, not thinking Moss makes it back to him.
But I wouldn't have targeted Moss, is what I'm saying. I would have gone one or the other. I wouldn't have targeted both.
You don't think taking Moss and then Chase Brown and 10, 11 is smart?
I don't like it as back-to-back, and I don't like it because you're basically one of the two now, no matter what, one of his top 10 picks, which, we have 10 starting positions. So one of his top 10 picks is going to be on the bench. He's not planning on playing both Chase Brown and Zach Moss. I don't believe. If he is, then I don't understand why he's going that route.
Yeah, but if you're getting an RB1 here and this late that has,
that's why I went with my gut and take my RB1, not his backup, just in case.
Yeah, I like that way. What do you say? Thrill Kill wins with why? Why does Thrill Kill win? Is that him?
He likes the 2 top quarterbacks, and he's a Rashid White fan. And no, it's Trevor. He's just hyping up his boys.
He likes Javonte Williams. I don't know. I've heard some good stuff.
He likes Rashad White. He likes Rashad White a lot. He likes Jonathan Brooks a lot.
What do you think about the Hopkins pick? Somebody said that he was only supposed to miss the first 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how true that is.
It would make sense if it was 4 to 6 weeks from now, from the injury happening, and not 4 to 6 weeks of the season. Like you said, I didn't clarify when I read it either, so I'm not sure exactly how it was.
Brett said that Hopkins could be back as early as week 1, as late as week 3. If Hopkins is back week 1, I think Cheeky got a steal there. Possibly. If he doesn't play until week 3, I think that might be a little bit of a reach. But I mean, if you're betting on him being there week 1, I think that's a great pick.
You should pause it, right? We're going to pause after this round?
Yep, I got it. Yeah, we're going to pause after this round. We'll let this round go.
From here on out, we'll let the rounds continue to play out, guys, while we talk about the teams and stuff like that. So
in this round, drafting. Yeah, and this round will be 60 seconds, and then when we get to the 11th, or when we get after the 11th round, we'll go to 30 seconds. We'll let this round go out of 60, let everybody prepare for quick picks. So,
all right. So let's give us a quick recap on that round. We had Bryce Young at 10-1, Keon Coleman right after him, followed by David Njoku, Chris Brown, Javonte Williams, then Derek Carr, Tony Pollard, Brock Bowers, followed by Jamison Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, Cortland Sutton, and finished off the round with Blake Corum. So I want to start talking right out the gate about that last pick, man, because that's exactly what we were just talking about earlier in the pregame was the Kyren Williams, Blake Corum conversation. So he has Kyren. He took him at 2-12, and then he CYA'd it at 10-12 with Blake Corum, which that scenario, I don't hate it at all. It's totally different to me than the Zach Moss Chase Brown one we just discussed, because he's looking at taking the top back in the second round, and then his backup all the way down at the end of the 10th round. That is a okay handcuff scenario for me. The back-to-back 9 and 10 round like that, I don't think either of those running backs is worth a handcuff, really. I think you take your one and you're happy with him and you get a different position otherwise. As opposed to this scenario where you're getting one so far behind the other that now it's okay to go ahead and do a CYA scenario. So what do you think about that? Like, do you have any kind of...
I just disagree because he's picking them the same round. Like, it's not like he got Corum 3 rounds later than he got Chase Brown. He got Chase Brown in the same round, so he still got his backup in round 10. He just happened to get his starter in round 9. I just think it's mostly the same situation. I disagree.
I don't like the starter in round 9 as Zach Moss, though.
Yeah,
I don't think Zach Moss is a solid starter to take him in the top 10 rounds. I just don't.
Like, if he's the RB1, you don't think he's a solid starter?
I don't think he's the RB1. That's my argument there. I don't think he's the RB. I think Chase Brown is the RB1, and I don't think that either of them are worth enough to handcuff each other.
I don't know. I disagree. I just think that the Cincinnati offense is a little. I mean, they're good. Joe Mixon performed there last year. Chase Brown had some good games as a backup there last year. Right? He was the backup there last year.
Yeah, he was the backup last year behind Mixon, and he started to basically take some work away from Mixon as the season went on. So I mean, maybe it's because I'm not as confident in what Zach Moss brings to the table. I watched him in Buffalo. I'm pretty experienced with what he's bringing, and I think he had an overachiever type of season behind Indy's line when Taylor went down. And I think that kind of segued into the love that people have for him. And then his landing spot helped a lot because people overlooked Chase Brown early on. Now that Chase Brown is starting to be highlighted in camp videos and talked about as getting the first team reps, people I think are starting to come around. So, I mean, they're getting closer, obviously. Like, I think it wouldn't be surprising at all if you don't see a swap and then Zach Moss drops off the board soon. Okay. So that's just, to me, I just feel like it's just hard for me to take one position in 2 different rounds back to back. That's the one thing that I just have a hard time with. Like, and when I say one position, I mean one position in real life. One RB1 role on that team is all there is. So, you're basically going to get whatever RB1 since he gets, but you spent 2 picks back to back to do that.
Sweet. Yeah. And we just started this round again. So Chiefs Life, you're on the clock. We'll go through this round, like I said, it's 60 seconds. And we'll just, if you want to go through each team, get our opinions on that. We can do that like we usually do. And then,
absolutely. We'll start with the Chiefs Life since he's in the 1.1 spot, and we'll highlight this one and go through it. So he's sitting with, he started out at the opening spot with 1.1 taking Josh Allen. Then he followed that up with Kyron Williams, Drake London, James Cook, and Trey McBride. He picked Rashee Rice with his next pick at the end of the 6th. Followed that up with Aaron Rodgers, Christian Watson, and Jordan Addison. And then followed up just before we paused up here with Blake Corum, and then finished off with Curtis Samuel at 11-1. So where are you at so far with the build? And I mean, he's got all his starting spots are there, and he's got a backup already. So what are you thinking so far of it?
So I like a couple of his picks. I think a couple of them are reaches. Like, I think we said that James Cook, we didn't really like that pick at that time. Tyron Williams, I think, went and had a Jonathan Taylor I didn't like. I also would have went with the quarterback earlier. Like I said, I like the Addison pick. The McBride pick was nice as well. There's just a couple of picks I would have made differently, but his build's fine. I think he took the quarterback decently. He took Aaron Rodgers as a QB2. We'll see how that plays out injury-wise. But besides that, it's not a bad team.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think he did a pretty good job the way the board fell to him, kind of just taking guys, with the exception of, like we talked about with the Cook pick. I thought that was just a little bit of a reach there with some of the other guys available, and he could have went a different route potentially there. The one thing else that I also don't like is that he's heavy on Buffalo players after taking Curtis Samuel in the 11th round. Mm-hmm. And it's just, as much as I love my team and as good as I think they're going to be, I just have a really hard time putting too many eggs in one basket in fantasy in general. So that to me is a tough one. I would have probably, taking Samuel now makes the Cook pick even more suspect in my opinion. So that's the only drawback that I see. Beyond that, maybe you could say that the quarterback depth is an issue because Aaron coming off an injury and not having anybody to back up that role in case is going to be tough. There's really nobody left on the board. So it's going to be a hard sell for him to be a championship squad if something happens to Aaron. So, otherwise, I think he's pretty decent in every other spot, though. I think he's got some good depth at receiver, and I like his tight end one. So not bad.
Yeah, the second team I really want to talk about quite a bit. I really like this build. I think he made one misstep in the whole one in the draft, which was Jalen.
You want to break down the squad for everybody?
What's up?
You want to break down the squad?
Yeah, so we got Jalen Hurts as QB1. You got Kyler Murray as QB2. Comes back with Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Kirk rounding out his 3 wide receivers. Then he's able to get Mark Andrews. And then his running back 2 is Jalen Warren. His quarterback 3 is Deshaun Watson. He gets Sutton, and he gets Spears. I really like almost every single pick he made besides the Warren pick. If you wanted a running back there, I feel like Mostert was probably the safest bet. I think that's the only mishap I think he made. Maybe McLaurin or Rice over Kirk, but I don't mind. I think you can bet on Kirk being their wide receiver 1 there, so I don't actually mind that too much. But I do like the squad quite a bit. I think this is one of my favorite throughout the drafts I've seen.
Yeah, I think it's up there too. I'm with you. I think it's up there too in the top.
I think getting Tyler and then getting Taylor to follow him. That was probably the best 2 back-to-back turn picks like that I saw coming in that position right there. So I'm with you on that for sure. I like the only thing I'm not a huge fan of is I'm just not a Deshaun Watson guy. I think I would have gone for with having 2 solid starters. I probably would have went for more of an upsides third quarterback, maybe a JJ or a Levis, something like that could potentially vault themselves up the QB board and be, trade target down the road if my 2 studs are still performing well, or if I, have an injury with one of them too, I have a nice backup that's proven he's start worthy. So, that's probably the one area that I wouldn't like. I actually kind of disagree with you slightly on the Jalen Warren, just because of the fact that he's a younger guy with potential running back 1 in that offense upside, where you don't have that with Mostert because of Achane unless he gets hurt. So you're kind of counting on injury, whereas Warren could go in and steal that job starting week 1. We just don't know yet. So in worst case, he's getting a 50-50 share almost, right? So I don't think I hate the Warren pick as much as you did over Mostert. I don't hate it. I just think that's his only bad pick he made all draft, in my opinion. I would have taken Mostert or even Jonathan Brooks there.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have hated it if you went that other route for sure, especially if it was Brooks. The only difference there is if it was Brooks, I probably would have went running back with my pick instead of Watson and then tried to come back and hope another quarterback would fall to me. But that would have been the only, because then I would have wanted to cover, CYA, cover my stuff for that first early parts when Brooks isn't playing. But then, come week 5, Brooks gets back in the lineup. Now you're looking at a really studly starting squad. So let's move on to team 3. We got Cheeky Hobson. So we got with Cheeky, he had Christian McCaffrey, Marvin Harrison, and Brock Purdy to start out his first 3 picks. Followed that up with Devon Achane and finished his wide receiver core with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Followed that up with his tight end and Kyle Pitts. Then took Deontay Johnson as his wide receiver 4. Followed that up with his QB2 as Will Levis, and then DeAndre Hopkins and Brian Robinson to finish things out. So for me, I think this team is okay. I would probably put it in the middle of the pack. I'm just not a huge fan of the RB quarterback stack, but it's definitely okay for that. We talked about that early on. Achane is a little volatile right there. It's tough to, pass him up at that point in the draft, but he's somebody that's a hit or miss potential. He could be a league winner or a league breaker. So, it's not terrible in the 4-10 role because it doesn't destroy you if he doesn't perform. So I think the Kyle Pitts pick was a solid pick at that point. In my opinion, he was the last of a tier at that point. So Deontay, I like a lot falling into him there. He's could potentially be the wide receiver 1 with a lot of targets in that offense this year. So otherwise, I think like I said, I think he's kind of middle of the pack. I'm not a fan of the two stacked DJ Moore, Kyle Allen, or Keenan Allen receivers on Chicago, and then the stack on the San Fran. It's just a lot of eggs in two baskets there. Plus, you went ahead and stacked again with Levis and Hopkins, which it's just a lot of, you're not spreading out your love enough, in my opinion. So those are the only knocks, though. Otherwise, I think it's pretty solid. You got any insight on it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously don't mind the McCaffrey pick. The Harrison pick I thought was a little bit, I would have taken I like him at that spot. I just would have taken Kyler Murray over him. Purdy, come back with Purdy, Achane. I don't like we said, I think we mentioned this before, the Moore, Allen back-to-back. I thought he said it was a rush pick, which I understand that. But I like the picks. Deontay Johnson, I think his quarterback 2 is a little weak. I'm not the biggest Will Levis fan at all, so I actually have Will Levis behind Bryce Young this year. So I would have taken a different quarterback. I probably would have taken Geno, or I would have taken Bryce Young. But besides that, I think he's a decent team. I just think he's weak in a couple areas that hopefully maybe he can get on this later rounds.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So we got 10 minutes here. I'm going to try to kind of breeze through these last few teams because I don't want to take us too far over 2 hours.
Yep.
So we got Mr. Ben doing this here. We got Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, Jordan Love, Cooper Kupp, Josh Jacobs, George Pickens, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, Raheem Mostert, Jamo Williams, Brian Thomas, and Pat Freiermuth. So for me, I think this is a pretty solid squad for what he's got going so far. I don't like that he doesn't have a QB3 yet, but it was tough the way the board was falling. So I can understand why he decided not to go that route at any point. I like Pat Freiermuth that late in the draft. I feel like for where he fell, that's a solid pick right there. I'm not a huge Freiermuth guy in general, but I do think that, at that point, it's a really good pick. So I like his receiving core is pretty deep. I think his running back core is nice. His quarterbacks are great. So I'd probably put him in near the top of the tier as far as the teams on this league so far.
Yeah, I agree. I like this team a lot. Like I think we said earlier, we prefer to take Love in front of Barkley, and then maybe he'll hit Barkley. But I think getting both of those is nice. Kupp as his wide receiver 1, Pickens is his 2, McLaurin is his 3. I mean, he has a good wide receiver core. He's weak at QB3 and tight end. I think he probably can fix that here in the next couple of rounds. So we don't really know what happens here, but I think he's weak at the positions you really don't care about as much. He's strong. He's strong at running back, strong at quarterback 1 and 2, strong at receiver for sure. Weak at tight end and weak at QB3, which probably should be the weakest parts of your team.
Yeah. You're talking about backups now. There are people that you don't want to have to play unless you have injury issues. So, that's definitely a solid setup to start with.
I think he was hoping maybe Bowers falls to him instead of Jameson Williams. I think if he got that instead, his team would probably be my favorite team.
Yeah, I don't mind it because I think Freiermuth and Bowers are close enough to me where I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you're lower on Bowers than I am. I'm pretty high on Bowers. So.
Yeah, we've talked about that. So let's go to Cash. Cash has C.J. Stroud, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chris Olave, Nico Collins, Caleb Williams, Tank Dell, DeAndre Swift, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Xavier Worthy, Brock Bowers, Bo Nix, Kendre Miller, and Ty Chandler. So I think he's in a good shape. I'm a little bit concerned about tight end because like we talked about with Brock, I'm just not as big of a Brock as you are. And I'm also concerned about his QB2 having just 2 rookies there. So he's kind of, praying that one of those 2 guys is going to be a worthy start throughout the whole year. So otherwise, it's not terrible. I'm not a huge fan of his running back room. Kendre Miller has been having some injury issues I've been hearing. And, DeAndre Swift is not the best RB2, so he could be in tire straits in that position if he can't find some, diamonds in the rough here later in the draft. So otherwise, I think he's okay. I'd probably put him lower middle of the pack maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Here, let me make my pitch real quick, and then I'll
go for it. We can move on to sorry for cussing because we're going to have kind of running low on time. So for sorry for cussing, we've got Lamar Jackson, Puka Nacua, Travis Etienne, and Travis Kelce. He has Deebo Samuel and T. Higgins, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, Geno Smith, Tony Pollard, and Daniel Jones, Dallas Goedert, and Rashid Shaheed. I think his team is decent. I'm not a fan of the QB2 role. You're gonna be hearing that a lot from me, like a broken record throughout this breakdown, because it just seems to be the case for a lot of guys are not as big on the QB2 role as I am. But I do like the fact that he snagged a solid group of running backs to kind of make a good RB2 position no matter what week he's looking at. He's got Aaron Jones, Najee, and Tony Pollard. One of those guys will be a worthy RB2 spot for him, and his wide receiver ones are in pretty, or his three wide receivers are in pretty good shape. So I think his team overall is built pretty good. I think he's going to really have to hit some wide receiver depth here in the end, which is usually what I do. So this is where I'd like to see how his picks pan out and what guys he targets based on the situations, because it's a strategy I take a lot.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts on this squad?
So the thoughts on this squad is my thoughts on why I don't take a lot of like running backs that well is because he has to play, a couple in his flex spots most likely, and I don't like doing that personally. I don't want to play a Najee or a Pollard over guys like JSN or Deontay Johnson or Xavier Worthy or stuff like that. I would rather play those receivers than have to play those running backs. I think he'd make a great pick in Shaheed there. I think Lamar Jackson falling there was good for him. Getting Travis Kelce's nice as his, as basically his anchor with Lamar. Nakua, I've heard that they're leaning on Kupp, so we'll see how that plays out. I like the Travis Etienne pick, so I like the team. I don't like the build as much as I like some of the other ones.
I understand, and I figured that would be the case based on what I said. So with Zubikis, we've got CeeDee Lamb and Garrett Wilson. Then he went back to quarterback with Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence. Followed that up with Ken Walker, Dalton Kincaid, James Conner, Calvin Ridley, Devin Singletary, Derek Carr, Jacoby Myers, James Palmer, Adonai Mitchell, and James McLaughlin to finish it off. So what do you think of his squad?
I like his squad a lot. Besides maybe the Singletary pick. Maybe Singletary is the running back one, but I've heard some like different reports that they're rotating all three of those running backs that are there, or I think it's three, maybe it's two, but they're rotating them in at running back one, just as a committee. So I'm kind of worried that
Hard Knocks. I know you don't watch reality shows, but if you watched Hard Knocks, you'd have noticed that they really like Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, exactly, and I've heard a lot of good things about him. So we'll see how that Singletary pick picks out. But besides that, I really like the build. He's got some good. You got Joshua Palmer, Jacoby Myers, who both have some good upside. He has Adonai Mitchell, who has some good upside. And then he's got two anchors at receiver in Lamb and Wilson, who both could be wide receiver one, top 5 wide receivers in the league. And then he's got a couple of good quarterbacks. I personally would have taken a couple different quarterbacks over Goff, but I know a lot of y'all are high on Goff, so.
Yeah, I like the Goff pick, and then like you said, those last 4 picks I think are really solid picks for where he took them. So I'm definitely solid on that. Singletary is the only pick for me. I take Jonathan Brooks right there. His team was built perfect to take Jonathan Brooks right there. So that's probably what I would have done at that point. But I understand why he went Singletary. Wanting to make sure he had a guy that was going to play for sure and not somebody who was coming off an injury. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and I almost would have taken like a Keon Coleman or a receiver there, even like a Brian Thomas or somebody else over Singletary. I think he was – I was trying to look at his team to see why he picked Singletary there. I'm not sure if he might just be a Singletary fan, which is fine.
Well, I think, in my opinion, he probably took Singletary to CYA for Connor because he's afraid of Connor injuries potentially. Okay. So that's just my guess, but –
that makes sense. Yeah, I like you said, I would have taken a little different, a different running back there if I'm taking running back, but not a bad team overall. Like I said, I like that 2 anchors at receiver and then hit back-to-back quarterbacks is almost the perfect start for me. So,
yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's go into Thrill Kill. He has Tyreek Hill, Anthony Richardson, Tua Tagovailoa, and Sam Laporta. Followed that up with Rashid White, Zay Flowers, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Godwin. Then he came back with 3 running backs straight, Jonathan Brooks, Javonte Williams, Nick Chubb, and then came back for QB3 and Justin Fields. Followed it up and finished out so far with Jerry Jeudy and Chuba Hubbard. So what do you think of this squad so far?
Well, I'll let you talk about this one because this one's running back heavy, apparently. I don't know. It was a great. I think it was a great squad up until the Javonte Williams pick, which I don't mind the Javonte Williams pick. It's just, I think I would have taken receivers more so than those running backs, Hubbard, Chubb, Judy. I would have taken more receivers there. I like the Fields pick. I love the Fields pick. He's going to be the starter week 1. Apparently, I'm not 100% sure that if he is, but I like that Fields pick because that's who I was looking at. Hopefully, making it back to me in that round or in the next round. But
yeah, you'd have been better off taking him over Zeke Elliott, in my honest opinion. But hey, it's okay. You needed to take the running backs because you faded the position so much.
Well, I already had 3 quarterbacks.
So quarterbacks are gold, baby. Superflex quarterbacks are gold. Like, you look at these squads, nobody has the depth at quarterback to cover an injury. If something happens and you have the 4 quarterbacks, you're the target they're going after, man. You can get a nice trade out of that. But let's move on. Short stack squad. He's got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dak Prescott, Devontae Adams, Isaiah Pacheco, DK Metcalf, Kirk Cousins, Jake Ferguson, David Montgomery, Zach Moss, Chase Brown, Romeo Doubs, Zach Charbonnet, Marshawn Lloyd, Michael Penix, and Darnell Mooney. So I think the squad is okay. I definitely, like I said, I'm not a fan of the back-to-back Cincy picks, like the Zach Moss, Chase Brown picks personally, but it's not horrible. I think he could have – there's a guys that it felt like at the picks he took them, I would have taken another player, maybe not a different position, but a different player. So it's not horrible. I like that he followed Kirk Cousins up and was able to get Michael Penix. I think that's a really good CYA move in a super flex. That kind of solidifies that injury scare that Kirk Cousins brings to the table coming off of his Achilles. So I definitely am, okay with this team overall. I'm just not 100%. I think Romeo Doubs falls to the wide receiver 4 in that offense. I just don't have a lot of faith in what he's going to be, So otherwise, it's okay. I'd probably, again, middle to bottom of the pack, I would say at this point.
Yeah, I like some of his picks he made. Amon-Ra, Dak, Adams, I think was a great value. I think his running back 2 is going to be fine. Honestly, I think he's going to have one of Brown or Moss. He's going to have Montgomery there. I think where he's hurting is going to be flex, but I think even flexing Montgomery, if he's not there, his running back 2 will be fine. He'll have Dobbs. Apparently, he's going to be a quiet, getting some targets there. So I don't mind that team. I don't know if it's at the bottom. It might be in the middle of the pack, but it's one of my. It's not my favorite team, but I don't mind it.
Okay. Let's go to Bender Rover 07. So he has Joe Burrow, AJ Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, then Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Baker Mayfield, Zamir White, Austin Eckler, David Njoku, Gus Edwards, Tyler Lockett, Gardner Minshew, Johan Dotson, Tyrone Tracy, and Ben Sinnott. So I think for this team, I would probably put them. This is a tough one, man. I'm just not a big fan of this team. I don't want to be that guy that says this is the worst team in the league, but I think I'm going to be that guy that says this is the worst team in the league.
I think that's pretty harsh, honestly. I don't think it's the worst team. I think my team might be worse than this team.
I mean, okay, so the worst team we've covered so far.
Okay. Oh, wow. Thanks. No, I don't think it's even the worst team we've covered so far. There's a couple of other teams. The running back heavy team I wasn't a big fan of. What do you dislike about this team? The style, like the strategy, or like the picks, or
just mainly a lot of the players I just think were overdrafted. Or either overdrafted or I'm just not a fan of them, right? Like Diggs I thought was overdrafted. Mayfield I'm not a fan of. I don't really care for Njoku as much as everybody else does this year. Gus Edwards I think will be a potentially good pick there, but there's so much up in the air going on in that backfield. We just don't know. Tyler Lockett I think falls off this year. Gardner Minshew I don't even think is a starter. So it's just like one of those things that I feel like maybe it looks good now, but I think as the season goes on, I don't know if this team is going to feel as good come week 1 when he's getting ready to play his first game.
Yeah, I can see he's pretty weak at QB3. Yeah, I agree with the Diggs analysis there. He's overdrafted. Mayfield probably was overdrafted there too. So I don't disagree. I don't know if it's the worst team. Gosh, it's pretty.
I mean,
hard.
it's like, oh my gosh, it's like everybody else is way up here and he's still far down. Like, it's not like that, you know. From what we've gone through so far, it's the only team that's I've really been like, ugh, you know, like scared, I guess.
I got you.
So let's move on to these last couple squads here. We got TB. I'll let you break them down here because I'll be doing your team after this.
I don't know about that, but he starts off pretty good. Jefferson, Robinson. Then he gets Herbert. I was really hoping Herbert fell to me. You said you liked Henry. I don't mind it for his team because of where he got him. I personally, I'm taking the receiver there, but he was able to get Cooper, Reed, and McConkey. So it worked out well. I don't like the Stafford pick. I feel like that was a little bit of an overdraft as well, kind of like the Mayfield pick. But his team overall is pretty good. He was able to get Ingram pretty late, Coleman pretty late. His QB's 3 is fine. He's got May. His running back 3. He's a little weak at Ford. If he starts for the first few weeks of the year, he should be fine. When Chubb comes back, he's going to be really hurting it. If any injuries happen to his main 2 running backs. Besides that, I think it's pretty good overall, besides maybe a week on depth at a couple of positions. But.
Yeah, I mean, I it's hard to say right now 100%, but I would lean towards it being my favorite team so far.
Really?
Just because I like his I like that he's got 2 solid RBs to start, and I like that he's got 2 solid quarterbacks. I know you think Stafford was an overdraft. I honestly have him right about where he took him as far as like the ranking for the position.
Yeah.
So okay to take them early if I need to take them because they're going early. I'm okay with that. So Stafford to me was fine there. I know he did it because he thought you were going to take him. So if that's the case and you want, like, I'm always all for get your guy. If you think he's going to go and the next guy's picks, then get your guy. Don't worry about it. So that's I'm okay with that. I think he did end up getting a solid receiving core because he snagged Justin in the beginning. So, you know, his wide receiver 3 is Jaden Reed. His 4 is McConkey and Coleman and Leggett. He's got 3 guys that are potential number 1 on their team. And then Douglas, who's also a potential number 1 on his team. So he's got some really good depth at the receiver position. That is the type of depth that I like to target for the way I draft. So to me, I like his team quite a bit. Ingram falling to him was a good steal there. And then I also do think Dalton Schultz at that point in the draft is a good move. So, you know, why the running back 3 is the weak spot that I see so far. And, you know, he's obviously trying to address it. He went and got Vidal. Who knows what his next few picks are going to be at the running back position, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't try for another diamond in the rough scenario at some point here in these last few picks.
Yeah, I've heard Vidal is not getting almost any snaps. Hasn't really been in the rotation. So
yeah, I know, but at that point, I can see why.
I don't mind the pick. I was just saying, I don't know if he's going to be.
Would you take Roschon? Would you take Roschon Johnson over Kamini Vidal right now?
Would I?
Yeah, if you were in that position.
Yeah, probably.
I think so too. I think Roschon has a better opportunity to get carries than Vidal. It's a little bit less crowded.
With Swift there, it's like, are you really that comfortable? Or do you think Swift is going to stay healthy? Do you think he's going to get that many carries? Like, you don't know with Swift coming in. I think that's why people are shying away from Roschon, and Herbert. But
yeah, I mean, if depending on where either of those 2 go, I don't mind taking 1 or 2 of them at that point in the draft because the Swift to me has never been the type of guy that has been good at holding off competition.
Gotcha.
So let's get to your team.
Look who I just picked. I got a top 10. I got a 10th round pick in the 17th round. Just congratulate me. Just congratulate me, okay?
Oh my god!
Steal of the draft.
So everybody knows what he's talking about. Jalen McMillan, for some odd reason, went in the 10th at the end of the 10th round at our last live draft, and everybody was just shocked by that pick. So the fact that he fell all the way to 17-12 kind of gives you an idea why. So basically what we're looking at for your squad is you've got Jamar Chase, Breece Hall, Mike Evans, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Alvin Kamara, Rome Odunze, George Kittle, JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young, Khalil Shakir, Zeke Elliott, Jalen Polk, Mike Williams, Ray Davis, Malachi Corley, Jalen McMillan, and Sam Howell. So honestly, I know that you changed your strategy up a little bit because you probably didn't want me to harass you too bad about it, and I think it worked out for you because you ended up with a good, decent RB1 and 2. I think Kamara will be a fine RB2 for you. I wish you would have followed up with a little more depth in that position, or just at least different depth maybe than Zeke Elliott. I'm just not a fan of him, but otherwise, I don't think it's bad. I know.
Starter. I didn't a starter that late. I was just like, I mean,
you're already hearing stuff out of like Royce Freeman's going to stepping up. So I mean, it's so up in the air in that offense. I just don't know. And he's so old and he's so slow. Like, who knows at this point if he's even capable of being a good back, you know? So I don't think I take him there. I think I just go a different route at that point. But otherwise, I mean, I like Khalil Shakir a lot. I think he's the wide receiver one in Buffalo by the end of the season. I think that your neighbor's pick is a good pick at that point in the draft. So I'm definitely not upset at your draft overall. I think it's pretty decent. I'm a little concerned about your RB depth really. And at this point, you don't have another tight end. So if something does happen to Kittle, then, you're going to be struggling there. So that's basically the only two things that I have to say bad about it. I wouldn't put you above TB, but I wouldn't put you like too far below him either.
Yeah, and I agree with that assessment. I mean, I was hoping I probably should have taken, and I would have, and looking back at it, I was maybe thinking I probably should have took Kmet instead of Mike Williams, and I picked Mike Williams at the last second. Looking back, I definitely probably should have taken him.
Or at least came back and like instead of Malachi or Ray, take one of them there. Like I'd like the Ray pick.
Yeah, I just didn't like any of the guys. I was thinking about Isaiah Likely was the only one. I needed running back depth, and I think I was covering my back with Mike Williams is why I took Corley. So
I think for Malachi Corley, I think I take Ben Sinnott. I like Ben Sinnott a lot, and for that potential with Kittle being your tight end one, you can just sit and see how it goes. I probably would have done that. That's my thing, but that's not bad. Malachi Corley covering Mike Williams. Mike Williams hurt. Malachi Corley becomes a definite player there. So that's a good move too.
Yeah, and like I said, I was hoping that I could get Likely on the way back. He went. I'm pissed off. I think Mr. Been Doing This took Sam Darnold just to spite me because I was looking to cover my back with JJ McCarthy, and I know that's why he took him, and he didn't take him for any other reason, and that's the only reason he could have taken him. But besides that, I think it was a decent draft. It's not my favorite team, honestly, that I've drafted in these live ones. It's not my least favorite. My least favorite was probably my first one where I took Taylor in the third, took Harrison. The only other thing I'd say about my team is I'm too dependent on rookies. I don't like doing that usually in redraft, and I did it. So we'll see how it turns out. But overall, not a bad team. If you haven't yet, please type in draft into the comment section. We are going to be doing a couple of free giveaways here in a few seconds. And so we'll spin that. If you haven't yet, please type draft. I believe this will probably be our last live draft this offseason. So thanks for everybody for tuning in, for joining the leagues. We filled this one in, I think, like 48 hours. We filled the last one in 3 hours because that was just perfect pod day and stuff like that. And we filled the first one in 24 hours. So thanks for everybody that joined up. We had a lot of the same people. I think Mr. Been Doing This was in all of them. I think TB was in all of them. Cash might have been in a couple of them. Zubakis was in a couple of them. Short Stack, thank you for tuning in. I think you were in all of them as well. So thank you all for joining up. If you didn't hear anything that you liked about your team, I'm sorry. I don't remember whose team it was that Sean hated, but I'm sorry. I think he's Mr. Bendover. But I'm sorry that Sean hates on your team. Maybe come back next year and you can make up for it for the.
Hey, he might come back this year and win this whole thing, and then he can come back and talk a lot of mess. We'll bring you on to an episode if you want, and you can come on and just rag me the whole time. I'm totally fine with that.
Well, I'll make a couple picks here if you want to go ahead and spin the meter.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on out of this draft room here and we'll get this all set up here to get you guys going for the giveaway. All right, looks like we've got 9 total entries for this giveaway. So as everybody, one last second here, we'll give you guys just a few more seconds to type draft if you haven't already. Feel free to go ahead and do that real quick and just post that in the comments so that we can get you in on this bad guy. So as we get through this, we're going to give away 2 entries here, guys. So the first entry is going to be given out, and then that specific individual will be pulled from the drawing for the next entry. So you guys know it's not going to be anybody in here who won already getting 2 in a row. All right, so just get that out of your mind right now.
Chiefs, you're not eligible. Do not type draft. You're not eligible. Get out of here.
Who are we talking to?
Chiefs Life. He's won like 5 of them.
Hey, don't listen to him. Type it all you want, man. All right, we got one more extra entry came in there, so we'll go ahead and let that one go and get started here. All right, so let's see what we get.
It better not be Chiefs Life.
It better not be Ballsville either, or we're gonna.
Oh, I thought it was Chiefs.
Oh, that is
Out of here.
He wins again. This guy is cheating.
What
At least we
hell
know he's
is
not going to
going
win.
on?
At least we know he's not going to win the second time. All right.
Gosh. Nah, sure.
Oh man,
Nah,
if you don't
man.
win at least one of your leagues with all these free entries, bro, then you should just give up fantasy football.
Get out of here. There's no way he won that. Oh my
Yes,
god.
sir, he just did. If it happens the second time, we know there's a problem, right? Because he's supposed to be eliminated
God
from the
dang,
second
dude.
drawing. All right, here we go, guys. We're gonna do drawing number 2.
That is horrible. I can't believe that.
See, he's not even in there. I'm so glad that we can get a different winner finally. I really want Chris to win with that nice face of the
Niall.
There we
Niall,
go.
Can you please put your sleeper ID in the chat so we know who to contact?
Yeah,
We'll-
either put it in the chat or feel free to DM it directly over to Westlex, our commissioner. He's the one that can do that, or myself or C-Bomb, either one of us. We can definitely get that information over to him. So
Yeah, I just know last week's winner wasn't in Ballsville. We just had a random guy watching our YouTube, and he wasn't in Ballsville yet. So if you're not in Ballsville, please put your sleeper ID in the chat so we can reach out to you. We'll give it a few minutes so we can get you in. But thanks everybody for tuning in.
yeah, thank you guys for being here with us. We know this one kind of went a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we had a good time chatting with you guys. So I hope that you guys did too. For Niall and for Chiefs Life, congratulations on your victories. Well, for Niall, congratulations on your victory. Chiefs Life,
Get out of here, man.
you have too many victories in the last 3 years between you and your team. So I think it's time we moved on. But it's all right. It's okay. We're happy for you still either way.
I cannot believe Chiefs won that. I literally called it like you cannot win.
I think you did it it's your fault. Had you not said anything, it was going to stop on somebody else, and then you had to go and bring it up and change.
Chiefs, I don't hate you, but come on, man. You've won 15 free giveaways. I've seen you win them. You won the freaking number 1 spot in this one. You get Josh Allen, and then you come back with 2 freebies. This league was free for you. Get out of here. Give it away.
Hey, don't let him hate on you, brother. I mean, you get the win, you get the win, right? He's just butthurt that he didn't get a victory.
I wasn't even entered, and I'm pissed off.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, on that note, guys, we really appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much. And feel free to tune in on Wednesday at 7 p.m. for our standard draft pod, or our standard pod that we're going to do, not a draft pod. And, join me and Scott and the boys, and we'll have some fun there too.
Niall is Thrill Kill. Thank you, Niall.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Yeah, I think Scott and everybody will be back on Tuesday. So thanks for tuning in this week and joining up.